AI is a better story for the companies to tell than it is actually the explanation of what's going on.
Chat GPT. Chat GPT.
Chat GPT.
Hello, and welcome to Ontology Explained. I'm Hart, philosopher and ontologist. How should we think about this given story that Amazon is doing layoffs?
This morning, Amazon has just announced it's cutting 16,000 jobs worldwide.
Other companies, Wayfair or Microsoft or Google, there have been a number of different layoff sprees lately. Should we think about those as being driven by AI? And first and foremost, I would say no.
As artificial intelligence reshapes the workforce, West Australians are being warned half of white-collar entry-level jobs could become obsolete.
If they're right, AI is one of the most serious threats posed to humanity. Perhaps the most serious threat to humanity, could lead to the extinction of all of us. Predicting whether ice cubes are going to melt in tea is relevantly similar to predicting how a future technology is going to behave. And just stop and sit with that for a second. Does that seem like a reasonably good analogy? Is it reasonable to say something like how the internet was going to change the world was relevantly similar to thinking about how ice cubes are going to function if they get put to a hot glass of tea? And just on its face, I think that's pretty ludicrous. Will we get to artificial superintelligence? Eventually, right? We're going to get AI that is capable of improving itself. But once it improves itself, then that improved version can improve itself. And once that improved version can improve itself, which will be virtually a god or whatever you want to say, is this fallacious or not fallacious?
What's going on, Keith? How are you?
Today's the best day of my life, Ben. How are you?
I'm great. That was an awesome intro. The stuff is bugging, so I will refresh this and intro our awesome guest here.
Fantastic. I'll do that. So today, everyone, we have Hart with us. Casey is a philosophy PhD turned into a professional ontologist, and there's a bit of a story behind that we will dive into. And after earning his doctorate from the University of Wisconsin in Madison in 2018, he also answered a job posting from PsyCorp, which is the legendary AI lab run by Doug Lennart, which recruited philosophy PhDs on purpose, in Doug's words, because they saw it as a market inefficiency. And he spent the next decade building knowledge systems at PsyCorp. This is what Casey did there. Also at Olive, also at Amazon, Grow Intelligence, and Ford. And Casey now runs the YouTube channel Ontology Explained, covering the intersection of philosophy and AI. Now, some things that you might not know about Casey is that when he was doing his master's in Wyoming, a mentor professor showed him the punchline of an old joke. It was a friend's business card that read, ontological engineer. And they laughed together at what a silly job title that would be. And now that has become Casey's actual career. Another thing you might not have known is that when Casey took the job at PsyCorp, it was partly because of the fact that he had a 2-year-old daughter and another child on the way while facing a rougher academic job market, which ended up completely changing the trajectory of his career. Other than that, we have Casey with us here live. So Casey, how are you doing?
Hey, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing great today. Yeah, it's a fantastic one. I'm excited to chat with y'all.
Appreciate you taking the time, man.
I like that. I like that intro. I need to steal that intro. I feel I was like, oh man, that makes me feel even more epic than than I feel in my real life. So
That's
I like
awesome. You deserve it, man.
100%. There's plenty of things that we can start off with. I think you've probably done this a million times, I'm not going to lie, but I do want our audience to have an idea of what the word ontology means before we start diving too deep into the conversations today. So
yeah,
break it down for us.
Yeah. So at its core, it's a philosophy term. Like we want to break it down, like ontic is being or existence, and logos, spoken, written account of, right? So it's the study of being. Now, that doesn't, I think, solve very much for people. You're like, oh, great, what the heck is the study of being, right? But in philosophy, it's a branch of metaphysics. So metaphysics is like, what's the stuff out there, right? Like, how are all these things, yeah, meta being sort of like bigger than or next to physics. It sort of comes from Aristotle, where I think it was just like metaphysics was like it sits next to his book, The Physics. But if we're asking big questions, are like, what kinds of things exist? So, like, are holes things, right? Or are they just absences of things? They're not real objects. There's just stuff that isn't there, right? And so we try and make an inventory, or maybe, you think of like the classic, more like ancient Greek, there's fire, air, earth, and water, or something like that. Fundamentally, all things are that, or fundamentally, there are atoms. That's the kind of stuff that ontologists are interested in, is like, what are the fundamental constituents of reality and how can they be related to one another? To which the question usually is like, okay, great. Like, what does that have to do with artificial intelligence or data science or the kinds of things you do in a more modern structure? And for that, you just think about, okay, in AI, if we think of an AI as having a brain, like what kinds of things does it need to know about? Or if I'm building a data model, what sorts of things does my company care about that exist? So if I'm a medical company, right, I'm a hospital chain or an insurance company, I can say, all right, well, fundamentally, what's out there? There are patients and payers and providers, in the same way that the Greeks might be like, there's fire, air, earth, water, that kind of stuff. So you build these fundamental entities, and then you talk about what sorts of relationships you can have. And that gives you a data model that is hopefully more robust and looks more like the real world than just a like relational database schema. And that's going to get us some other values later. We can talk about sort of the virtues of ontologies, but by and large, that's what it is. If I was just saying like the quick version, it's in a contemporary AI sense. What does the AI need to know about? What kind of stuff is there?
So you've been a part of what's been going on with AI since before it was a massive topic, right? That everyone's now talking about. It's in the news.
Yeah.
How did you like? What do you make of the idea that someone thought to bring a PhD in philosophy into this space? Like, why was that such an important thing in the first place?
Because we have great, deep, and abiding wisdom. Clearly, no. I think the answer was Doug was like, "All right, there are smart people in the humanities getting humanities PhDs, and those smart people like it's sort of a Moneyball situation, right? Like, okay, if I think 50% of them are decent, but they're also willing to go take these terrible academic jobs, I can pay them considerably less than I would have to pay an Austin area computer science person, programmer. And if I have a reasonable enough hit rate on them, it's great. So I think that was part of it, is just the economics of it. If you're looking for these, where are some smart people who are underpaid, then great. One of the when I first got offered a job at Psychor, I countered, like I asked, I was like, I know I'm getting offered a salary, but like I'm supposed to ask for more, right? That's what you're supposed to do in negotiations. And so I asked for like 5,000 more or something. And I remember Doug being like, "You're the first person in like the last 15 years who has like asked for like has countered at all," which I think just tells you more about like the sort of people that he was applying to. We're just like, I was getting offered $30,000 for a visiting professorship somewhere. Like that's the kind of thing I'm comparing it for. And then like you can give me a terrible Austin area rate and that's still double that, right? But I think the other reason that having philosophers is important, and like even more important as AI gets better, right? Programming skills, um, like the ability to know how to program in C sharp or something, right? Like I think those things are becoming less and less important, generally speaking, and it's more important to be like clear and methodical about okay. Uh, what are the kinds of things that I want to be doing? What are the necessary order that these steps have to come in, right? And philosophers maybe are better at thinking about formalizations and ordering our thoughts and making clear distinctions. So it's not to say that like I think we need only philosophers, but I think there's an important skill set that we have that is useful where AI is today and easier for us to leverage because I'm not held back as much by lack of some other technical awareness.
Okay, so my next, like, I'm trying to think through the position of Psychor. Like, okay, they're trying to build out systems and are thinking about trying to make these things more efficient at the time? Or is it more like bigger, higher level, this is changing humanity? Like, how do we do this the right way? Was it an ethical thing that they were thinking about, or not so much?
I think there's some of that. I think whenever you look at the uh, big movers and shakers, like the important people in AI stuff, uh, there's a decently high percentage of them that are true believers of some sort. That like, the future is going to be the singularity or whatever, and we want to have our stamp on it and help make it do things the right way. But if I had to sum up what was going on at Psych, their idea was, um, uh, so the like the Kahneman and Tversky thinking fast and thinking slow paradigm, that like the way our minds work is that a lot of what we do is like this gut reaction of, like a baseball's coming at my face, I gotta react to it. And then there's another part of it which is like, all right, how am I going to throw the next pitch? Well, I just threw a couple of fastballs, so like a change up is the right thing to do here, or whatever, right? So there's this gut reaction piece, and that is the machine learning side in artificial intelligence. But then on the other side, we want the like methodical, logical reasoning that we can sort of cite the fundamental facts or the ways that we understand the universe to be and explain how we came to our conclusions. And that was the kind of thing that Psychor was after. So it fits in the tradition of what's called good old fashioned AI, GoFi, or expert systems, where like if we were able to just codify all of the things that humans know, right? Like these important rules. They're like basic rules that you might not explicitly state all the time, but it's like, okay, I've got, will this fit inside my coffee cup? Well, I know like bigger things don't fit inside smaller things, right? That's a fundamental like fact about the universe. So if I'm going to build a smart AI system, it needs to know that bigger things don't fit inside smaller things unless they're like squishy and can be compressed or whatever, right? So that was the goal of Psychor, is that we need to do this massive project of encoding all of this like common sense and some not so common sense knowledge. And if we get that together, then we will give the AI the fodder to reason over this stuff. And that's not a small project, that's a huge project. And then there's like the combination of commercial aims, and then there's things about competing governments and stuff, right? Part of Psych came out of uh, uh, losing various tech races with Japan and being like, we're not doing it again in artificial intelligence. So the government, the U.S. government's like, all right, we'll let some of you companies collude so that we don't just like fall way behind international competition. Yeah.
Super interesting. On the topic of AI in particular, it's probably the most polarizing topic that I've seen since I've been like studying social media, and I've been doing that for almost 10 years, and I've never seen anything like this in terms of the reaction it's created, especially in the West, of like how visceral people's reactions are to these things. And one of the key words that gets brought up a lot in terms of the people who are less bullish on AI is the concept of hallucination. And I know that's something that you've talked about a lot, and you personally have said before that you feel like that's an inappropriate word for what people are trying to say, if I'm understanding you
Yeah.
correctly. Could you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, and to be clear, I think the term hallucination is stuck. Like, I, so I'm still going to
It's
use
not going
it.
anywhere. Yeah.
So when you go look at my other stuff, you'll be like, "You're such a hypocrite." I mean, yeah, all right, I am a hypocrite
People
for
decide on
many
words.
reasons.
You have to use them. Yeah, it's totally fair.
Exactly. But my idea is this, right? That a hallucination, like in humans, is when somehow my brain is fabricating something that's not there, right? And so I see it as if it were real, and then I react based on that. And that requires that like I have some representation of the world, and that like I'm uh and it's even different than like an illusion or something else, right? It's like it's a made up kind of impression of what's out there. But like that's not what's going on with ChatGPT when it quote unquote hallucinates, right? Instead, we have to put it crudely, and like I know some people don't like this characterization, but we have a next word predictor or something like that that then produces sentences that, if they were true, like just aren't true. Like that's what's going on. And so if I think that what an LM is supposed to be doing is telling me a bunch of true stuff, and what happens in a hallucination is it tells me something false, like shouldn't we just say like this is buggy software? And some people have pushed back on that, which I actually think is right, which is not a bug because it's doing exactly what it's intended. It's producing a sentence that looks like a normal language sentence or something like that. And so really it's just once we understand what the tool does, right, which is awesome. Like I don't want to say this stuff is bad. I'm pretty optimistic about how cool the stuff is, but we don't get to be like, well, this did something we don't like, and so now we're going to say it has complex mental states, right? This is a inaccurate treatment of what's going on, and it's something where it like Sam Altman and Amadea and whoever get to claim that like because our thing did something bad, it's actually evidence that our thing is more sophisticated than you think. It's like what I don't get to if I screw up at work, right, I do something that I'm not supposed to do. I'm not like, well, I hallucinated a different task and executed it correctly. Like my boss would not not be content with that explanation. Or if my car's brakes go out and I run through my garage door, it's not like, oh, it hallucinated that the way was clear. Like, no, it's something broke. That's what happened. Let's not over anthropomorphize it. And that I worry about a lot, is that people are, when you talk about the overreaction and stuff like that, I think a lot of it comes from people like wanting to see persons and intellect and mental states where there just are none, and that causes us to be paranoid and confused, and we'll probably talk about doomers and all that kind of stuff in the future. So yeah,
Yeah.
hallucination is kind of where it starts. Let's just be clear about what we're talking about and what actually happens, and go from there.
That's very well laid out.
Do you
Go
think
ahead.
that there's a better word, like a better way to put it?
uh so one thing is we can just be more factive about it, just like say what happened, right? Like the output of the LLM said something that was false. Like that's not as catchy, but that's more accurate. I have had some I've toyed around with some different ones. I just tend to say that they're buggy or something like that. But then I found out that because the word is like already caught on, that my better bet for marketing is to just try and say that hallucinations for AI just don't require mental states or anything like that. Just try and like defang and properly understand hallucination for what it should actually mean. But yeah, I like folks in chat, y'all. If someone has a better suggestion, I'm very much open to it. I'll push it.
Fair, yeah, because I mean, the thing that just comes to my mind is just a perfect marketing, right? If we really break down, I mean, Ben has really illuminated me to a lot of the thinking around this. It's just like there's so many things that have been kind of just put in as these assumptions for how this stuff works and how it must go, right? And that hallucination is one of those words that is totally just caught on and become a part of this phenomenon of like, this is what is happening. And if you don't understand it, then you're just on the outside, essentially.
Yeah, Casey, I love that you laid out the marketing angle for it, because really this message has been one that's been spread because of the marketing angles that were taken. Do you think, like I've wondered this a lot, do you think that that came from marketing people that said, okay, this will create the biggest reaction? Or do you think it comes from the founders of this wanting that to be a reality?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I could make the case for both. I just am not aware enough of like
Yeah,
the
please
facts of the
make for
matter.
both if you can. I'd be super interested.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already sort of made the marketing case, right? Which is that if you say this, it both deflects blame from you, like, and it actually is a reason to invest more, right? And we see this with all sorts of when we have problems going on with the AI. This is one of the things where this comes up a lot in discussion of some harms where it's the people who are committing self harm or something as a result of ChatGPT and these other LLMs. There's two ways you can go with that. You can either be like, "We're sorry, we're going to try and fix it," or you can say, like, "This is terrible, but it's evidence of like how powerful our software is," right? And like try and do a judo flip or something like that. And that's kind of what they're doing on the hallucination. On the true believer side, right? It's I can't really get inside these people's heads, so I don't know. But many of the leaders of these companies, and to the extent that I've gotten to talk to some folks who are um, names in the in the AI space, a lot of them really do think that like this is the future. Like we're gonna have human robot cyborgs. We're gonna have the singularity. We're gonna have all these sorts of things. What the heck are minds? It's hard to know what minds are. Do we really know that these things don't have minds? Wouldn't it be cool if they have minds? What if I'm running the company of the thing that creates the mind that is the artificial superintelligence that cures? Like, you start telling yourself that story, and some of it is this is good marketing, and some of it is, yeah, humans are motivated reasoners and can buy into any sort of hype. So I'm not going to rule out that a lot of them might actually believe some of the stuff that they're selling.
Well, one other thing that we've talked about on the show a lot amongst Keith and I in the chat was that they're also in a very powerful echo chamber with so many incentives to remain in there. One, they're working so many hours likely on this, probably only around people who also have the same belief system. And then their compensation they're getting financially is like off the charts to be associated with this. And then you also couple in the sheer volume of press coverage these things get too. That would have to distort your perception of reality.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is true for a lot of these different echo chambers. Like, you can make the mistake of thinking that because it's an echo chamber, like the echo chamber is causing the beliefs or something like that, and that is also partially true. But it's also a filter, right? There are a bunch of people out there that have a bunch of different views, and the ones who find their way into this are sort of selected as the people um, who are that way. Like, you can see this in, like in the hard right conservative media echo chambers, and left ones as well, right? Where often those folks are getting paid to have these sorts of views, and they're like, I don't have these views because I was getting paid. And that can be absolutely true. It's like, but you got paid because you had those views and were willing to espouse them, right? And those are the kind of people that find their way into all of these spaces, AI hype included.
Great point.
Yeah, that's super interesting thought, and I'd love to hear how you look at this too in terms of how algorithms kind of do this same thing. So in that case, it's a person hiring someone, right, who they understand has the same sort of philosophical look on how this technology works and so on. And the incentive is you come and you, if you have this mindset, then you are accepted into the club, you get the job. A little bit of a sidebar, but when you look at social media algorithms, in a sense, they do a very similar thing where maybe it's not that you're getting paid, right, to have a certain ideal, but at the same time, like, these algorithms promote certain kinds of content. And with that, you end up getting paid for however it is that you're dividing people or whatever it is that these algorithms are incentivizing. How do you think about stuff like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you build these incentive structures, and like whether it's intentional or not, some people like genuinely want to exploit those incentive structures already, and so fine. But yeah, the other people, it's just like either a slight dopamine hit when they get it, and so they follow that, or it just sort of self selects for them. I was talking to I just started my own podcast with Carl from the Internet of Bugs.
It's an awesome show. Everyone go check it out. It's linked down below.
Oh, that's sick. I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Thanks so much. But I was talking to Carl about this the other day, where he's like, I bear some responsibility for this, because he was doing some design for essentially like a online publication, like newspaper, I think. But they were figuring out, okay, how do we sort the comments at the bottom? Like, there weren't that many options, right? You could just do them by date, or you do them by something else. And they did them by like, most comments or response or activity, right? So essentially a sort by controversial kind of thing. And that just like worked the best, and like, great. And plus we can filter stuff out because we're a small enough publication. But then you find out that you just apply that sort of algorithm, like, which is not putting your thumb on the scale that much, you wouldn't think. But like, that's the way that you just end up with Nazi stuff like all over the internet, because like, this gets the most interaction, and you don't see the like measured, reasonable, like non-racist responses lower down.
Yes.
So yeah, these algorithm structures are
so well laid out, because that's a very good point, right? Is that people misconstrue, they think that it's saying it's the best. It's like, no, it's just creating the most activity or the most response. And oftentimes the worst things actually create that. That's why these comment sections across the internet have just become cesspools of negativity and hate. It's crazy. And a lot of people who didn't have the conviction to or confidence to film themselves, their version of becoming a content creator became a comment arguer. So like they live for the comments. This is massive over on Instagram. And so that's a big point of that too, is that the incentive structures there got these people attention. And you'll see across YouTube or Instagram, when someone gets their first comment that blows up, they start replying back being like, thank you so much for this, as if it's a massive deal that people like their comment. So like the dopamine loop gets hooked there. It's super fascinating to watch, but you laid that out really well.
Yeah, and, like, there's nothing it doesn't matter that you know that sort of stuff, right? Like, I still get real
Totally.
excited when I get "Oh, man, I made some Reddit comment on RNBA," or something like that, like, made a joke. People loved my joke, like, you feel good about it. Like, in
Totally.
and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you don't realize what that can lead to and the sort of addictions, like, you know, not to mention what that does with how that's related to truth, right? And giving you an honest
Yes.
perception of what other people think about things.
100%. And then it also gets people chasing too, right? Because if they do it the next time and then it didn't work, they didn't get the kind of response they do, then they're like, okay, well, what do I have to do now? They start thinking about not about what do I want to say, what will I say that will get a reaction? I think there's a lot of people that are very active participants amongst communities where their brain is there and they don't even realize that, which is the scariest part.
How do you guys think about that with your podcast here? Like, how do you balance that in terms of creating stuff that you think will generate enough feedback and excitement, but not letting yourself sort of sell out to the algorithm?
It's a fine balance. It's one where we play the game to a point, but understand that the whole mission is to get them here to where a dialogue can take place that they can even participate in. So before everything that's posted, we're like, we will think through, does this make sense for us? Does it align with our values to a degree? But you also do have to understand where you're finding people across the internet. And if you don't play the game of that first few seconds as that touch point, then you'll lose them. So we try to ethically attract attention or ethically play the game of clickbait, whatever it may be. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not big enough yet where on any of my platforms where I'm thinking about that as much. But my general take is if I do stuff that I believe is true and I get sort of some personal satisfaction out of it and I let that be the guide, then I'm going to be happy with it. One thing that's helped me personally in like my content creation side is that I view it as so it gives me two or three things. One thing is it scratches some of that academic itch of I liked writing papers. I like putting my ideas together in ways that made sense to me and learning new things. And so this gives me that avenue. So if nobody watched it, I would still enjoy doing it. And then the other part is that my incentive, like my financial incentive in these things are I'm kind of creating a brand for myself and then I do consulting and those sorts of things. And so that's a way where like, all right, if the channel gets huge or not doesn't particularly matter. But still there are a number of times when it's like, okay, I could make some more of those videos and those get more watches. And I'd enjoy doing them too. So maybe I should lean into that kind of stuff. How do I make that balance? I'm still kind of figuring that out. But I think my move has to be that I have some first principles. I decide what those are, and then I move based on them, and hopefully that is gonna keep me sane.
I think that's great. I think you've thought about it a lot more than most people on the internet that are creating content. And yeah, I've only been forced to think about these things because I've been doing this for quite a long time, where you start to see the detriments of not doing that. And also, I think a big thing that comes into play is really understanding the game you're trying to play, right? Because then that will also dictate what you should or shouldn't do. Like if you're trying to grow an audience as fast as possible, then there are tons of examples of why this stuff works across the internet. But then how quickly do they die out too? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's totally dependent on the game that you're trying to play. But Keith, I'd love to hear your perspective on this.
No, I mean, I think you made a good point too, Casey. One of the things that I said very recently was like, if I have a controversial take and I stand on it and I think that it's something that people might want to hear, then I will lean into making that and chopping that up in a way that will get the most attention possible, right? Because the truth is, so I recently had a moment that was a little bit controversial, and I was like, okay, two people commented on this that like if they only heard the first 5 seconds, that's clearly what they would think. They made the comment based on the first 5 seconds. But if they made it to the end of the video, it's only a minute long. like then they would have heard me already say that thing, right? So it was just like, I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm going to optimize for those first 5 seconds so that those people come and basically boost me in the algorithm so that for the people who do make it to the end, right, they'll actually get the point received. And that's unfortunately just kind of how these platforms work, is that first 5 seconds is where someone is ready to go. And I also was explaining this to someone because Ben, you've taught this to me over and over again, but it's like, there's people who sit there on their phones, they're scrolling and they're probably commenting like the same thing over and over again, right? They're waiting for just a moment to say the thing that they just have in their head that they wanted to say, right? In politics, it's this thing about Trump or it's that thing about Biden on the other side. And it's like they're just scrolling, and Facebook knows, Instagram knows that this is what they want to see. So they're going to serve it to them as fast as they can. They're going to give them as many of those posts so that that person can come there and say that thing and keep people hooked into the platform. So in some ways, I was trying to talk someone through like, hey, dude, like you're gonna see a lot of crazy stuff in this world that you're jumping into. So just know that first 5 seconds might be what you optimize for to get people in the door, so that they can see that last 5 seconds that's actually something valuable to them. But that's how I look at it.
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, it's totally fair. And one thing, just to finish, put a bow on that, Keith, is that actually I'll ask you, what do you think is the percentage of people that comment before they finished watching?
For me,
Yeah.
oh, it's probably, I mean, it's probably 80% most of the time.
Yeah, I know, it's great. That's
I had 70 in my head. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's up there.
Which is so ridiculous. Like that's actually crazy. But because I had that too with one video that's popping off right now, was like so many people were looking for the opportunity to like feel smart, so they acted as if I didn't include something that I did just later in the video. They're like, you should have said this. I'm like, brother, I did. I got that so many times. But yeah, I think that's very well said, Keith.
There's this bit of shame, like, so I actually hate the we need more shame in our society people often, but there is something, this would bother me in academia so much, where like somebody's giving a presentation, right, and someone asks the question, oh, I've just got the super smart question, and it's on like one of the next few slides. And like, look, it's going to happen to all of us in the audience. We're trying to be engaged, we're curious about something, and we get there. But if that happens, you should feel bad about yourself a little bit, right? You should be like, whoa, I jumped the gun. Obviously you were smart. I should have got that. Sorry, I asked that question. But some people are like, nah, you should have brought it up earlier or something like that. I feel the same way about all these.
That's so true. Yeah,
like,
they just move the goalposts. If it's if you did bring it up, oh yeah, you should have brought it up way earlier. That's a great point.
Yeah, so let's have a little more like the amount of preparation you should do, and like trying to not ask dumb questions. Like I want people to ask questions. It's all right. You're going to ask some dumb questions, but there's like a certain percentage of the questions you ask or comments that you make are allowed to be dumb. If you're not asking any dumb questions or not ever commenting before the thing comes up, okay, you're probably not doing enough. But that should be like 5%, right? Of the times when you're like, oh, my bad, I shouldn't have asked that. If you find you're up to like 50%, you need to shut up a little more and like watch the whole video. Yeah, it's in content creation too. For me, this is one of those things where like, okay, do I have some ideas on a thing? Should I spend an extra 15 hours researching it so that, like, I know other people's views? You know, like, oh, I want to talk about Nelson Goodman's paper on GRU. I should go read it again and read all the footnotes again to be like really sure that I've got this, because, you know, if 1,000 people or 500 people watch this, that's a lot of time that is going through, and I want to make sure I don't pass things along. Or is it better to be like, look, I can make that video now and it'll probably be right, and I can make another video after that? Like, which of those two outcomes is better? And like, it's hard to figure out the right level of preparation. But I feel like I tend to err more on the side of being more prepared than I should. That's a stupid thing for me to say. Now everyone's gonna be like, "We've watched you." No, you're never more. But yeah, I struggle with that as
totally
as
fair.
a creator.
Yeah, I think Keith has a really good job of striking, I think, a balance there, where he will do a lot of prep, but then he'll also say, "What's your tagline at the end, Keith?"
What did I miss? What did I get wrong? Or how could I be looking at this differently? Let me know in the comments down below.
And then that spurs a lot of engagement, and also typically, I'd say for the most part, healthy engagement for the most part, right? Like some good stuff in there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think like what you said, Casey, too, is it's like if someone were presenting information or trying to, do this accumulation of information and summarizing things for you, you might pose some of these ideas as a question, right? But that's not what happens. People go to the comments and they start saying crazy stuff.
Crazy shit. That's my whole thing, is that I do have patience for ignorance. I don't have patience for hateful ignorance. Like that's my distinction that I put, that's the line that I put in the sand. And most of it unfortunately falls into the latter camp.
Yeah. People just use it as an opportunity to say something that they needed to get off their chest,
Yes, 100%. Where should we go next with Casey here?
One of the things that I wanted to make sure we did dive into is this concept of, in AI, coming back to that conversation, like the singularity. And what does that actually mean? And what are your thoughts on if we're going to reach it, what that looks like, and so on?
Yeah. So this is something I've been thinking about. And like this is in my wheelhouse of topics generally for like, all right, here's a term I don't fully understand. Like, let's do the analytic philosophy thing of trying to define it. And I'm not going to pretend that I have a like really strong grasp on the singularity. What I take it to be, right, is a singularity is something where it's kind of it's out of humanity's hands, right? Like we've reached this like point of acceleration beyond which that like it's a force of its own, right? It's a black hole pulling us all into it or something like that in terms of technological development. Um, which is I don't think that's the when I heard the singularity before, I thought it was like we've reached the perfect AI or something like that, or the place where like humanity is merged with AI, like that was the singleness. I don't think that's what singularity generally means, so I'm not sure if I was just uh, missing it before, or if people have just a bunch of different concepts in mind out there. It's probably at least that. So in the concept of like artificial super intelligence or whatever, it might be to me like when we hit the point of recursive self improvement or something where we can't stop the ASI from being developed, that is then like that would be a version of what the singularity is like, that like we've built this technological creation that kind of has legs of its own, and um we can't stop it anymore. It's to infinity, I guess. But really, I think it's more of a word like utopia or something like that, that people just sort of throw out as a buzzword. That it's we're pushing for utopia, we're pushing for the singularity. We're not that far from the singularity. It's some destination that is squishy and vague. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Keith, you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a strange connection to all of this stuff because one of my clients runs one of the largest AI-driven podcasts, and so I was forced to listen to a lot of these futurists for a very long time, and before people really were freaking out about this stuff. And so I will say that it does seem like one point that you made there that I really agree with is it does seem like people have different definitions of the term and what it means to happen, regardless. But how I look at it is like Ray Kurzweil's definition of things, where the rate of change is just so rapid that you can't really follow it in terms of things just take off to a point where you're getting Nobel Prize levels of innovation by the day kind of thing. So it's difficult to even think of before and after. It's just such a rapid state of progress. So that's one thing that that's where I usually go, but that's just because I read his books. But Keith, I'd love for you to chime in.
Oh no, I've got nothing. I'm the guy who's listening, trying to understand what on earth is going on and how this is going to take my job, which was one of the things that I also wanted to touch on.
The singularity is when Keith is unemployed.
That's great.
Touch on the doomerism a little bit. Like, why is it, first off, that people are so afraid of what's happening with AI? And is it in any way justified to think that AI is going to take all the jobs and create impotent bad water for everyone and drive up electricity costs? Like, what's going on with all of that? How's that happening, and what does it mean to you?
Oh, yeah. So lots of things there. Like why are people scared of it? It depends on what people you're talking about, right? So some of the people if we want to say those like true believers that are combinations of like AI founders or people who work for Anthropic and stuff like that, because there are people in those positions that are, putatively, like, they're experts that we could say that are worried about, AI killing us all. Um, those people are often true believers who think that this thing is incredibly powerful, and it's kind of like with, medicine or something like that. Anything powerful enough to help is powerful enough to hurt. And so there's just sort of two groups about whether you're an optimist or pessimist about this potentially really powerful thing that you're building. So you've got this like doomer and zoomer group within the people that are, we'll call, experts. Then you have the charlatans in that group who I don't know whether they're actually scared or not, but it's just for marketing purposes that you just pitch it as being really scary, and they stand to profit off of that. They might stand to profit off of that because they are Eliezer Yudkowsky and they're selling these books, or they're like running a nonprofit or something like that, and they're trying to get donations, and so there's money in it for them there, or they are just interested in it being in the public interest so that they get on awesome podcasts like this one. I should have been if I was a doomer, would I have gotten on Memes and Markets sooner? I don't know. And then you have the group of people who are doing it like for they're like lying twice. They're not actually scared of the end times because of AI. But they know if they scare you for the end times because of AI, then governments will pass regulations that will protect their company that already has the IP that they need to. So they're just doing it for like protectionism, which is a decent chunk of it. But then you have like the for like the lay people out there, right? The people who are not part of these companies, don't stand a profit or not. And I think a lot of those folks who are scared because AI is complex. AI is there's science fiction stuff out there about, we know stories about robots taking over and killing everyone. Like we've heard about the Terminator. So we've got these sort of tropes and images out there. And then how is this stuff portrayed in the media? Like, it's back to our, sort by controversial or sort by the exciting takes, right? And so it's more, you get more headlines and more eyeballs when you say that ChatGPT broke out unexpectedly and hacked Hugging Face in something that can only be explained as the AI's first steps into, cyber terrorism, and that freaks people out. And a lot of folks don't know any better. Like, it's not their fault that they don't know any better, but they just get pulled into the hype. So that's my take on like why people might have those beliefs. But then you like pointed to a bunch of other, we could look at the likelihood of all of these potential really negative implications. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on first the like my diagnosis of the psychology?
I think you nailed it. And I think a thing that we repeat on the show all the time is that the best form of content always either pushes people towards pleasure or away from pain. And in this context, the pain is so much easier to understand and explain. And also the timeliness of people's current vulnerabilities, given the state of the economy, would make them extra susceptible to this kind of fear. And so I think that all those things play a role. But Keith, I'd love to hear you.
All of that sounds spot on to me. Another thing that you made me think about, Casey, was I had this guy explain to me. I don't know if it's a theory or if this is more like documented in something that just is what it is these days. But basically, he was breaking down to me how a lot of the thought leaders of society today have all read the same books. I'm going to read off a couple of names. There's one called The Diamond Age. There's another one called Snow Crash, and some other ones like by Isaac Asimov. I believe The Foundation is another one of these books. And it's like all of these guys are kind of like basically trying to create the things that are in these books. And like some of these things were utopian, some of these things were like dystopian ideas that were in the science fiction books, is what I should have made clear. But I'm curious if you've ever heard anything about any of that, or have you read any of these books? Does it feel like we're moving toward those kinds of worlds that have been outlined in these books? Or
So I am Ray Bradbury was absolutely one of my favorite authors. The Illustrated Man, incredible. Uh, but I have not been super big into like sci-fi that has influenced my views of AI. That's just not. I was more like read anything with dragons in it as a kid, right? Uh, you're absolutely right that there are some of these authors. Some of these novels were really influential to people. And it's true in a number of different places. Like Lord of the Rings is crazy. Like, look at Palantir and stuff like that, right? Like, uh, and also by people who don't seem to understand who the bad guys are in these books in weird sorts of ways. I hope that anyway that I don't. We don't need to get overly political here. Uh, but yeah, that stuff really shapes the way that people think about things, and then they try and bring that sort of stuff about. And again, with my podcast co-host Carl, like he has read so many of these books. Like every time we're talking about a thing, he's like, "Oh, have you read this? Have you read this?" In a lot of ways, I feel like, oh, my conceptual space is more impoverished than it ought to be because like you've got all of these pieces, and it can be a really good thing too because right, these are philosophy is filled with these examples where you have really important thought experiments, right? And those give us like paradigm shifts about how to think about things, like whether it's the Chinese room or we talk about Mary's room in Qualia, or we talk about Nagel saying, what's it like to be a bat? Or we talk about, it doesn't matter whether you guys know any of those, but like these are just sort of uh, fixed points in the history of philosophy that like help us orient and navigate our ways around ideas, and they do the same thing in sci-fi novels for sure. So it's on my list. Like right before I started this one today, this podcast today, I ordered it's like Bob's World or the Bobaverse or something like that, because I've now had like 15 people talk to me about that. Apparently some guy who's wealthy um, uh, gets run over by a car in the opening segments, and then finds himself like reincarnated ish, like as a computer brain. And then it's like, oh, what would it be like that to be uploaded, hundreds of years later? Sort of like instead of waking up from like a cryogenic freezing in your human body, you wake up in a machine, and how to think about that. Anyway, so that's all I know about that book. But so many people have cited it to me lately. I'm like, all right, I got to read it now, and then I can start making sense of these these comments.
You mentioned the co-host of your podcast. Awesome show, by the way. I'll repeat it again. It's linked down below, guys. Go check it out. But he runs the channel, The Internet of Bugs, and he's a software guy, and it seems
Yeah.
like he's read the same books. So why do you think he sees things so radically different than a lot of the AI hype people who typically are also software people?
Oh, that's a good question. You should have Carl on and ask him. To the extent that, uh, I mean, I'm just going to say something like he's reasonable and a little less selfish and money hungry, I guess,
Got it.
is the vibe that I get. There's kind of like you get some people, you just get the sense like they're more salt of the earth people. They're like, all right, they just know how to do good work, and then they like can make reasonable assumptions off of that. And other people are like, everything has to be a massive dream, and like, how can I take every episode? Just back to what we were talking about for content creation. How can I take this episode to the moon? Like, if that's just always your question, instead of saying like, what's the unique and valuable contribution I'm making here, and is that sort of thing achievable? And in my conversations with Carl, that's the kind of guy that he is like, okay, like we can do some really cool things. How do we do it? What sorts of things achievable? And if you just follow that, trail of breadcrumbs, you end up with like, all right, here are the kinds of things I could see potentially happening in the next, 5 to 10 years. And it's not anything like these doomers or zoomers are making seem like is possible. So yeah,
Makes
I
total
think he's
sense.
just realistic.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys on one of your recent episodes gave your predictions on timelines before AGI, and I think you had said, oh, what was you said like 2070 or something like that?
2075. Yeah, we did the thing where it's like, all right, get a number in your head. What's your, like, I'm just curious. And both of us were at like 2075. And neither of us feel great about that, by the way. I think it's more of an illustration because like lots of things can change. When I say we don't feel great about that, I don't mean we think it could also be 2030. Like, we don't think that that's feasible. But we're just like, there's a lot of things that need to happen. And like, is that going to happen in our lifetimes?
So why
Like,
can't it be 2030? Because that's those numbers get thrown around a lot.
uh, I think the mostly I'm thinking like, why can't it be 2030? Like, why do we think that something is this feasible? Like, I have looked at, I'm not a big fan of like burden of proof arguments, right? This gets brought up in like theism all the time. We're like, oh, the atheist doesn't have the burden of proof, the theist does because they're making the claim or something like that. Like, there's a little bit of something to that sort of line of reasoning. Like, if you're the party that's like, we are going to have computers that are smarter than any human at any given task, will cure cancer and all possible ills, right? Could take over the world. Like, I feel like it's kind of on you to tell me why you think that that's going to happen. And if your best argument is like they can destroy us at chess now, like, I just don't find that compelling. And this is it's really hard to make stuff, like, uh, we have jobs. If you're at work, you're like, all right, I'm going to try and make a user interface that is like pretty painless for people to access their healthcare records. You're thinking that's a really hard task, right? Like, and how much easier should that be than making artificial super intelligence? So there's like I guess my offensive arguments against these sorts of things are like that, where it's really hard to do these things. We can point to specific things that are like artificial intelligences don't have the sort of executive function that we would like them to have. They can't move from one task to another. They're not learning in the robust sort of sense. They don't have like repurposable general intelligence. And the advances that we've seen are not increases in generality. They're just like adding to new specific tasks and new specific domains. But then the other reason is I'm going to go look at the best arguments I can find for people that say that we're going to get artificial super intelligence. And all of those arguments suck. Like, all of them. And so I've just started a new series where I watched all of the, like, basically every interview Nate Soares did and Yudkowsky when the book came out, and I was like, all right, all this stuff is terrible and etc. Uh, and enough people have pushed back, and they're like, but have you read their book? Like, have you just really gone through it? I was like, I haven't read their book, but it's not going to be good. And it's finally like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'll go through and I'm like through chapter 2 now. Um, and it's worse than I thought. It's just like and this is supposed to be like these are the people who have been thinking like the best and most carefully about it over time. So anyway, I just think there's not enough there.
Ben, the things that I wanted to talk to a little bit were along the lines of the business side of some of these things. But Ben, did you have anything that you wanted to touch on here? So, like, one of the things that's been brought up a ton is like the circular investing piece of how all of these companies are kind of like, you know, pushing money around in a circle. How do you look at the way that this stuff is interacting with financial markets and the impact that it could have, or it technically is already having, on the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq?
Yeah, I'm not a huge expert in those spaces. Not to say I won't say some of my thoughts, but just like take them all with the huge helpings of salt here, right? My it, it sure seems like a bubble to me from everything that I know. But a lot of economics seems like a bubble, right? One of the uh, one of the YouTube channels I enjoy, the Cody on Some More News, like whenever he mentions money, he's like, and that's all made up and fake, by the way. Right. So it's like, yeah, all right, it's economic stuff. But like when I'm looking at if I were investing in companies or feeling how like healthy the market is and those sorts of things, I mean, like, are we generating like really useful stuff, a real value? And uh, there's some like really useful things that AI can do. The improved like power and capacity for chips is like undeniably really powerful. Like, that stuff is really cool. So I don't think it's totally empty calories, right? uh my worry is more that it gets uh it's definitely been overhyped to some degree, because I think the artificial super people are pricing in like we're going to have artificial super intelligence in the next decade, and I think that's ludicrous. So I'd be very worried about that. um And then I would be very worried with how CEOs are going to handle the failure to achieve that. Like, are they going to be able to pivot to like, you know what, there actually are like crazy valuable things that we can do with artificial intelligence, right? Or are they going to say, no, we just have to keep trying to hit home runs and hit artificial super intelligence until everything crashes and burns? And that I'm less worried about. I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in those CEOs to make those decisions, and I'm more hoping that we have the right sort of social institutions keeping people from ripping people off and lying to them, and maybe that can keep some stuff in check. So anyway, I'm not. My usual take is somewhere in between, right? Like, I don't think it's the Great Depression, but I don't. I don't think everything's going to the moon, and I'm a little closer to the depression side than I am to the moon side, and hoping we recover.
Yeah, like I bring it up because I do feel like it does feed into the conversation without there's not a lot of nuance being had around the discussion of can this technology do incredibly amazing things, but could there also be a financial bubble, right? That ends up slowing that down to some degree, right? If the whole financial piece of it blows up, then some of these companies will go away and then there won't be as much money being spent on this. And then we all have to pivot to something else. So yeah, I was just curious to hear some of the thoughts and how you're thinking about that and how it could have either adverse effects on how things are building out now. I mean, there's also the whole real estate aspect to it, where there's these data centers that are being built and all of this. Um, uh, Insane levels of capex capital expenditures where these companies are spending on things that don't necessarily directly lead to revenues, but rather the expectations of improving something within a business and that leading to extra revenues down the line. So yeah, I was just curious to see if you had any other interesting thoughts on that part of it all.
I mean, I don't know how interesting the thoughts would be. I guess I would be thinking, if I were like planning a startup or something like that, or saying like, what's the next move? Like, okay, we are going to underperform on expectations here. There's going to be, if we don't actually need as many of these chips, or we don't actually need as many of these data centers as we thought, because they're not going to be able to deliver on the promises that they have, who is going to be able to capitalize on that inefficiency, right? Like, all right, there are going to be more access to some chips and data centers than we previously thought. Or also, what are the things that people think we're being promised by artificial superintelligence that aren't going to be there? Like, what are those functions, and how can we deliver that in meaningful ways? And it's sort of like to take us full circle back to some Psychor stuff, right? That was part of the thought there, was that, all right, machine learning isn't going to be able to deliver because it's not going to know how to explain its reasoning. So we're missing explainability. So how can I like build a platform that's going to do that? Right. Okay. Artificial superintelligence, like the thought was that okay, it's just going to be able to do everything and make all the choices for us. But what we found out is that it's really good at doing specific targeted tasks, but it's missing like a product manager role that does the executive function of, saying, here's how I want you to sequence together these tasks. Here's how I want you to prioritize them, and letting the AI do those more domain specific things. So maybe there's just more, economic space for philosophers, or for people who can delineate tasks clearly enough and help provide the orchestration layer that these things are going to be missing, and fill in um, uh, to help satisfy those needs. But yeah, I don't know whether that rises to the level of interesting. But.
Certainly. Ben, I want you to have.
I would have liked it better if you're like, no, that wasn't interesting. I tried. That's dead. We just lost half of our viewers on
no, that's great, man. I saw this video going viral, Keith. Maybe I sent it to you, of the mad boring guy. Have you seen that?
I'd have to look.
It's a funny meme that's going around. It's super, super funny. But I would say that definitely fell into the interesting camp, so you're good there. But where do you want to go next, Keith?
The one thing that's I've got to get your thoughts on, Casey. And this will by far be interesting. There's no doubt. Or you'll say you have no opinion. But we talk a lot on this show about the world of Web3, blockchain, crypto. When you hear those words, do you have some visceral gut reaction to them? Or
Scam.
do you...
My response to the Rorschach test is scam for all of those things. I haven't been the least tempted by any of them. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
That's interesting. So if you agree and believe that like money is fake, right? There's no interest in something that could make it more real.
Why does that make it more real?
Well, if it's lent into existence as it currently is, if we could create a fixed accountable supply, would that not alter things quite a bit?
I mean, like, but that doesn't do it any more than like the gold standard, or like, I mean, I have dollar bills and those are real in some sense, right? Like all of these things are, we just imbue them with value that help us, engage in, like, we view them as promissory notes that allow us to engage in some sort of transaction. I guess we can do that with blockchain. I guess I don't have in principle an objection to other means of like grounding currency. But I didn't trust any of the people that were doing it, and like all of the
Totally fair.
it had all of the trappings of pyramid scheme stuff. Like, the dominant idea, or I guess there are several different dominant ideas, but like one thread of it was like, this is great because it's outside of all of the governments. Right, there's no authority over us. Or like, yeah, you're just like, you have no recourse when we screw you over, is what I hear. Not that I'm a big person who's like, oh, the government's always going to save me either, but like,
Totally fair.
Super cool thoughts. Absolutely. On the Bitcoin thing in particular, there's different camps of the whole Web3 thing. There's like, blockchain is more important than crypto itself, right? So the ability to have an immutable ledger of things that have happened throughout the past.
Yeah.
That's
which I like.
something
Cool technology, no issues there with that, for sure.
cool. And then there's the people that are like, well, none of that even matters if it's not Bitcoin itself, because essentially the security of all of that is flawed versus the Bitcoin system. So yeah, I was curious if you've dug into the concept of like the proof of work and that consensus mechanism that is essentially trying to take um, so when we say like there's no inherent value to any money, what the Bitcoin maximalist would say is that what Bitcoin does is it takes energy and converts that into money, right? Which is something that is not really so objective, excuse me, not so subjective as being valuable. Energy is objectively something that we all need to survive. Both literally within ourselves, we must have energy to do anything and to be able to create and produce, but also from the physical perspective of like oil, right? Or any other energy source that you need in order to have a functioning society. If you can convert that into actual money, which is what a Bitcoin maximalist would claim that Bitcoin legitimately does, then could that actually be something that is inherently valuable but looks nothing like any other money system that we've seen before?
So in what sense is it converting energy? Is because it takes energy to form the, on its surface, doesn't that just seem incredibly wasteful? Like, the way I think of what money is supposed to be doing for us is something like, I can do a bunch of work, right? Like, if we just go back to like barter system, or like, the advent of money, where it's like, all right, I gave you my cow or whatever, and you just like, I gave you the energy, but like the energy is still usable. But Bitcoin is like, we destroy the usefulness of this energy and then we put it into this token that is now at like, this, that feels like inherently so wasteful to me. Am I missing something there?
Keith, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you're missing anything there. I think the argument would be that the energy is being converted into this thing, right? That now allows you to use it to get people in motion. And the way that I think of money, right, is it puts people in motion, right? It gets people to do things, to be more productive, to create products, services, things of that nature. So, and I think one of the major things of like how, because energy is actually free, right? When we really think about it, energy comes from the sun, right? So the only problem is the way in which we're able to harness that energy, right? To some degree, or is
Okay.
that false? I'm
Uh,
not a scientist. I'm just speaking philosophically in a sense, I
it,
guess.
it it seems like there's something right about solar energy. Like there's a ton of solar energy out there if we can figure out how to harness it. But we have a serious problem with we can't get all the energy that we need. Like when there were blackouts in Austin during our snowpocalypse or whatever in 2021, I wasn't like, well, energy's actually free, so I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. So the point being, the Bitcoin maximalist is saying that what this is doing is this is incentivizing society to get as close to free energy as possible, because now it's money, and you can be incentivized in this form of Bitcoin to do that, right?
I mean, but that's already pretty incentivized, right? If like I don't need Bitcoin to exist to say like if I had access to infinite energy, I could do, all sorts of cool things with it in the entire like in the absence of Bitcoin. I don't think that adds anything to the future. It feels to me like what Bitcoin is doing with energy is like instead of me selling you a cow and then getting a piece of paper that is a promise, right? A relatively cheap piece of paper, or whatever, but backed by a government or some authority or some social standards, whatever you like. Again, this is just bad economics. The people feel free to. What am I missing? Feel free to correct me in the chat. Right? That's the phrase. But like I'm giving you the cow. The cow is still useful, right? Like the energy and the money is like I don't want to be wasting energy and generating that. Like if I gave you the cow and then you like crush the cow into a giant dollar bill, I'd be like, but that you just wasted all the beef and the milk. And that's sort of like that was the whole point of having the cow in the first place. You're like, no, but I stored the energy and energy is free. I'd be like, that's freaking wasteful. What's going on here?
Definitely fair perspectives, and I've loved hearing your thoughts on all of it. I think a lot of people who are really big into this, it's when people say that it's like perfect money, I think that's definitely not something that I would agree with, but I think it's definitely something better than what we currently have potentially, like if done correctly, because of what the lack of accountability that is currently there from people who can just print money into existence, and then the second and third order consequences of that. So yeah, everything argument you're making, totally fair and justified. But you got something.
Well, my thing will always come back to, okay, versus where we are today,
Yeah, that's what I was
right?
trying to say. Yeah.
Where if you do look at the way that it works, you're basically constantly stealing energy from people by continuously having this source of where money's just being printed, and that's just at the hands of like a couple of people. And if they're able to just print the money that you're using to go out and work, your labor, your time is being traded for this infinite unit of something that someone else can print, then it might be worth having some sort of a structure around what is the thing that the money's actually based upon, and that being uh, the thing that is fundamentally what is needed to survive in some sense. I think Casey, back to what you actually said, like uh, the piece that I wanted to touch on was like, okay, fudge, I forgot it, but it's like this idea of, oh man,
It'll come back to you.
yeah, but
Did you have anything
interesting
else
stuff.
on the coin stuff, Keith?
No, we can move on.
Okay, I just wanted to double tap on the doomerism around AI. I think we touched on it briefly, but I would love to dig a little bit deeper into that, Casey. So like in terms of like let's say jobs, right? How a lot of people, or I guess the AI people, when they first said like, oh, jobs will be gone like the next few years, and they've since walked that back. With your lens of analysis, how likely do you think people are to lose their job in the next like 5 years?
I mean, Keith, definitely, right? We've established that singularity is coming for you. The So obviously, the answer is it depends, of course, right? Like certain jobs are going to be more insulated than other jobs, and also, first, just to like return to the ideas about hype, right? remember that when people are saying it's going to take your jobs, it's kind of like those people, like all the other bad things they might say about AI, like, oh, it's got hallucinations, right? Part of what they're saying there is a single signal of like, our stuff is so powerful, right? And if some CEO comes out and was like, our product is the best thing in the world, like, okay, cool. You should be saying that, like, fine. But you saying that doesn't mean that it's gonna be as good as you say, right? So take that with a healthy dose of skepticism. The other thing that's going on there is that uh, they're like simultaneously trying to scare the quote unquote average person because their thing is so powerful. And then they're also talking to like all the CEOs out there where they're like, hey, Bezos, by the way, you're going to be able to lay off everybody. Like, you should invest in us, right? That's the kind of thing that's going on, which is genuine. Like, that is kind of scary. Um, but I am skeptical that we will have the level of like artificial intelligence achievement that they need in order to lay everybody off. That won't stop them from laying a ton of people off in anticipation of this, and then having to hire some people back. And we've seen that in a couple of different industries already. So like, go look for the major layoffs and how those things are related. And also some of the layoffs, like if I'm laying people off, so I'm a CEO, uh, I've mismanaged my company. Like, I've over leveraged myself. Whatever. I've made some mistakes, right? And I need to lay off 15% of my workforce. And I have a choice where I can be like, okay, because of changing market factors, I can try and do that sort of normal double speak to basically say I screwed up. And so we've got to lay 15% of you off. Or I can say, as a tech forward company, we've decided that we want to lean in to the new artificial intelligence wave and be a leaner, more efficient company for our shareholders. And so because of these AI developments, we're laying off 15% of the workforce, right? Like, which speech sounds better to your shareholders? Like, it's the second one, right? And so of course all the CEOs are saying that, which is to say that like, I can't believe any of the data that I'm getting there. All right. But let's go to like it. You work as so I work as an ontologist. How confident am I that uh, advances in artificial intelligence are going to come for my job? I'm very confident that they are not. I'm in privileged enough space here where there aren't that many ontologists that have a decade of experience. It's just a small field and it's hard to get into. And so if you're sort of established in whatever your field is, even if AI is coming for it, uh, the field in general, I think you're still pretty safe because we'll still need people to oversee the stuff. The people who are most in danger are entry level positions in fields where AI can do some of those things, because AI can do some of the quote unquote menial tasks. Um, but that's going to have a cost in the medium term, right? Because now instead of hiring a bunch of, let's say, interns and entry level people, who then become journeymen or like mid-level performers that can then outperform the artificial intelligence if the AI doesn't grow as fast as I'm claiming that it won't grow. Now they'll have gaps and they'll need people to fill those sorts of spaces. So I think that it's going to change the sorts of tasks that we need people to do. And so you should be thinking less about how can I accomplish like the immediate rote menial tasks. You should know what they are, but you can even offload some of those to AI. And you should be thinking instead, what does this task do functionally in the broader picture? Like, how do these pieces fit together? And how can I find the right way to sequence them, or why this stuff really matters? Um, but to me, the existence of new technologies always spawns new jobs too, right? Like, uh, when you have people, scribes writing books, and then the printing press doesn't mean that like, oh, everybody's out of a job, right? It means that now we need people operating printing presses, and we have the ability to have more authors or something like that, right? Same for a photocopier. We can look at the cotton gin, we can look at all of these things. Like, it hasn't removed the capacity or need for people to work. So it I think there is going to be some short-term pain. Not all of that pain is due to AI directly. Um, uh, Wait, one word game time? Drop the words. I missed the full comment. What was?
So we've got a game that we play at the end of every episode where
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we'll a little teaser that's coming at you shortly. We're running out of time with you. But did you have anything else that you wanted to expand on there?
No, I think that's it. So it's like it's reasonable to be worried. I think there will be definitely layoffs. There'll be a lot of layoffs that are attributed to AI. Not all of them will be caused by AI, but it'll be a useful enough scapegoat. But as technology changes, you should figure out how you can be better in uh, better leveraging that technology and position yourself in places that um, uh, like new niches that technology will create.
Love
So
it.
yeah, not crazy afraid.
Love it. Love it. I'm sure people will like to hear that because that's seemingly getting rarer and rarer by the day of people saying that. So I love to hear it. Keith, do you want to hit Casey with the one word game?
Yes. I mean, one of the things
I was thinking that we could do that and then take a few questions from the chat.
Okay. All right. Let's
Unless
do
you
it
got
that
something.
way. No, I think we can go ahead and run that. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna read off a word, and you will give the first word that comes to your mind as a response. It's rapid fire.
Okay, this is like we're gonna get to childhood trauma or something by the end of this, right? That's how this goes.
100%. All right, the first one. Are you ready? Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Yudkowsky.
Grifter.
We'll dig into that a little bit later. The next one is hallucination.
Bug.
AGI.
Cool.
ChatGPT.
Meh. LLM. That's 3 letters.
Elon.
Gross.
Bitcoin.
I mean, I said scam earlier. I got to stick with it.
I like it. I like it. Sick. No, psych.
Oh, psych.
Sorry.
Like, rotavirus. No. Psych. I think Doug. I hear psych.
And then we've got Altman.
Oh. I already used grifter. I'll go fake.
Anthropic.
Same as ChatGPT. Meh.
And then money.
Please.
That's awesome. Casey, I think that was the best game we've had of that so far. So Keith, kudos to you. Casey, kudos to your answers. I guess that makes sense given what you do. But yeah, we'll throw it over to the chat, guys. We've got 9 minutes left here with Casey, so we'll take a few questions and then.
I don't have a hard out. I got to be like quarter till is my next meeting. So if it runs so long, that's fine. This has been fun.
Awesome. We appreciate you hanging out with us. So guys, hit us with your questions. I know you've got some good ones. Go ahead, Keith.
While they do that, one of the things so the first word was Yudkowsky. I don't know if we really touched on that throughout the episode. So I wanted to ask a little bit about that, right? Because Yudkowsky has a signature analogy, and you've basically said that you don't believe in it. Can you break down the analogy and how it relates to AI and why you don't think it's right?
Oh, I don't know which signature. He uses so many metaphors and analogies. Like his thing is he's not a bad writer, to be clear. Like he is the closest in this space, I think, to someone that I could see being a decent philosophy writer. But yeah, he and Soros wrote the "If anyone builds it, everyone dies." Yeah, he's the author of he started MIRI, the Machine Intelligence Research Institute. He is the founder of the Less Wrong Rationalist Wiki, which is like Reddit for effective altruists, is maybe a way to think of it. And has a real cult of personality. Cult of personality is the wrong way. He had the potential to be a cult leader of those sorts of folks. I don't think that's particularly what he wanted. He wanted to be and thinks of himself as like an intellectual and a thought leader in the space of artificial intelligence. He's also somewhat famous for his Harry Potter fan fiction, Harry Potter and the Rules of Rationality or something like that. Was just like, what if Harry Potter was a like the way Ayn Rand wrote, the Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged to be like a metaphor for objectivism. Like he did a Harry Potter version for rationalism. It's painful. Um, there's a little bit of riffing on it, but yeah, like his he often talks about like there's an X%, like we're building something smarter than us. It's definitely going to happen. We're not sure exactly when, but it's an easy call that it will happen. And when that happens, there's an X% chance that it's going to kill us all. And you can make X pretty small if there's a 3% chance. He's like, I think it's very high, but if it's a 3% chance, you still shouldn't build it. Right. So we've, and then that he likes sort of analogies and like rhetorical strategies like that for sort of pushing us to get at like, this is a super, super dangerous thing that we need to avoid.
Gotcha. And then there was the Ice Cube piece that you talk on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, and that was, my first the new series on that book, right? So they have a bunch of different metaphors that they use in that opening chapter, and the Ice Cube one is, I think, intended to say that, like, look, predicting the future is hard. Granted, like we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. Like, am I going to leave my office at 10:42 or 10:44? Who really knows? But I can say that later this morning I'm going to leave my office, right? There are many different paths, but they converge in certain things, and those convergences are the easy calls. And so he says, in the same way, you drop, like I've got a cup of hot tea or something. It's now cold decaf coffee, but you can use your imagination. And I throw some ice cubes in there. We know they're going to melt. That's the easy call. Now, do I know exactly what order the molecules are going to dissolve and break off? Like, no, I don't know that. So there's a complicated prediction of like all the weird physics that's involved in that. And then there's the easy prediction that it all melts. And similarly, like, it's a hard prediction to know exactly when artificial superintelligence is going to come into place, but it's easy to know that it'll be here and it will kill us all if it does. And I just think that that's crazy, right? Like, yeah, I agree that there are easier and harder things to predict in the future, but they just give us no reason. Like, why should we think that ASI coming about is as plausible and predictable, and what's going to happen is easily as predictable? Now, I will grant that they think the rest of their book cashes that check, right? Like once you read the rest of the book, you'll see that it's an easy call. I dispute this, and I'm going through the book, so you'll see how I get there. But yeah, lots of arguments by analogy that people like to use. I think they're like it's really good to have good analogies and metaphors. I use a ton of them. Most of mine are probably bad, but they can get you in a lot of trouble. There are a lot of bad arguments by analogy, and I see quite a few in Yudkowsky's work.
Sweet. In the chat, there's one good question here that I'd love to. Unless Keith, did you have more?
No, go ahead.
Cool. So besides money, AI side of things, what is Casey's opinion on the current sentiment of people as it relates to government? Is he noticing any trend, and how does he see that playing out?
Oh, good. Like this definitely ties into I mean, it's not even besides or outside of AI. I was thinking about this earlier with the question about, why people are so pessimistic or pessimistic in terms of like negative outcomes. I think part of that, right, is we see like huge wealth and power disparities, and that foments a lot of distrust and cynicism and skepticism, and that is exemplified in AI as well, right? The people who are leading these AI companies are some of the most powerful and wealthy among us. And so when you have sort of class antagonism, then that gets written over onto AI as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a definite trend. But back to the other things we talked about earlier, for I see the comments I see certain things that come up in my YouTube feed. How accurate are those as indicators of where society sits as a whole? Hard to say. What echo chambers I'm in. Like I live in a small town in Oregon, so I kind of know what like the immediate people that I interact with on a daily basis think. But we're also maybe a little more like-minded, just in virtue of my hanging out with them. So, yeah, it feels like there are definitely big and important political shifts, and there is an anti-elitist sentiment growing, like some more of that populism, which, like in the U.S., is clearly behind, Trump's election to some degree, and some people are feeling unhappy and surprised and disenfranchised by how that has turned out for them. So I think there's some more anger in those spaces. Time will tell.
That's such an important point to make, because even if you're seeing something a lot, like let's say on social media, it's not necessarily a strong sample size because of how everything's going to be geared towards how you think and see the world on any issue. So it's really,
Yeah.
really important to think about that. And I think that's also why we have such a media problem, where so many people are seeing such radically different things and shaping radically different realities, which is creating even more and more division. So very good perspective there. Another one from Tux. Do you see the growing populist trends on both sides of the political spectrum lasting?
Oh, that's a good question. I would just go for like more of a historical perspective, which I'm just going to defer to empirical stuff that I don't know as much about. Like, you enjoy Heather Cox Richardson or someone like that who like studies major social trends throughout history. I I feel like my recollections from government and history classes is that you have these sort of pendulums that swing back and forth, and then you have some sort of like uprising. Now, whether that's like a French Revolution sort of thing, or whether that's just sort of like a new political party that throws some other people in jail and changes things up, but then you have like new upper classes, and then the cycle repeats itself. But yeah, I would just be looking for examples from history that look as close to this as possible and see how long those things last. And I'm not going to pretend to know the answer to that.
Love it. We got a question from Lucas here. How does Casey hedge against inflation?
Oh man, so this is uh, ostensibly a financial podcast in lots of ways. I'm probably not as smart as I should be in the way that I manage my funds, but like I'm a pretty simple guy where it's just like I invest in the markets as a whole. Try and do a little bit more with some international markets to the extent that I worry about things going on in the U.S. market. And then my other hedge is that I'm getting older now, but I still like to pretend that I'm young, so I have time, and that a lot of my like value and opportunities are to like build my my earning capacity. And so in some ways doing podcasts like this is a way that I can hedge against things, because hopefully my brand is growing and y'all want to pay me tons of money to come consult, no, a very reasonable fee to come and consult and help y'all build on ontologies.
An incredibly high, reasonable fee for you, Casey.
That's right. It's worth every penny for sure. I mean, then the other stuff is just this is something that came from my parents especially, but like own some property, like buy your house, buy things that have like real value and don't be leveraged in don't have as much debt. Insofar as then whether that's a hedge against inflation or not, I'd have to think about. But no matter how things turn out, like I want to be living in this house and I'm happy here, like getting things that have real value and not things that have fake energy shoved into them, like Bitcoin, or whatever.
Super fair. I was like, if you didn't say it, I was going to say it for you.
No, you sometime later you're gonna have to maybe you'll convert me because I'm definitely no fan of lots about the current economic system. So I agree that there's stuff to fix, and maybe I've given
Uh,
Bitcoin and some other cryptos too short shrift.
We had it in the chat earlier, Keith. I'm sure you're gonna say it's basically the same thing, but someone had asked if you've read the Bitcoin white paper, Casey. Have you ever read that?
I don't think so, or if I have, it's been long enough that it's all gone.
Got it. That's a great place to start. It's not a huge lift. It's pretty easy to read. And there's also
Okay.
breakdowns on YouTube as well. But Self-Reliance, who is a regular, so happy to have you here. So since I'm too late for context, and I see a massive bookshelf, what are Casey's favorite / most influential / life-changing books?
Oh, that's wonderful. So I mentioned one earlier, which is like my favorite book growing up was The Illustrated Man, Ray Bradbury. As a kid, I was a huge fan. Like I said, anything with dragons, that stuff was good. Like I did the Wheel of Time series. Okay. I enjoyed a lot. You guys read the Redwall books? You know, the Brian Jakes? Well, great. If you got kids out there and they're like, so my daughters are 6, 9, and 11 now, and like once my eldest hit like 8 or something like that, reading her the Redwall books, so good. Talking mice, stoats, rabbits, that stuff's great. If I'm going for other meaningful books, Soren Kierkegaard was my favorite philosopher. He was the guy who got me into it. So Fear and Trembling, really good existentialist literature. Yeah, I could go on forever. What else is sitting up there? I got all my math books. Rudin's uh, analysis book for number theory. Important.
Super dope. Appreciate you sharing those. I've made my list over here. But
Let's go. Nicomachean Ethics. I'll put that one up there. Like for my other philosophy ones, Aristotle, accessible for everyone, foundational, like plays into a bunch of other things. I love starting with like Greek philosophy stuff because not only does the rest of philosophy build off of it in so many ways, but I feel like a lot of the issues that they're getting into are foundational ones that everybody wants to talk about. Right. So like, oh, if I tell you about Bayesian epistemology stuff, like I think that's interesting and maybe you can get there, but like it's a pretty like fringe or it's like in the weeds kind of thing. But you're in Aristotle and it's like, what is friendship? You're like, yeah, that matters to me. I got thoughts about friends. So we can all kind of get into that.
good stuff there, man. Yeah, that's a whole world to dive into in terms of philosophy. I've had someone around me recently that started to push me towards more of that. So appreciate you sharing that stuff with us.
Yeah, there's no like philosophy is huge. So when people are like, "Oh, what books do I need to read to get into philosophy?" It's just like don't try and boil the ocean kind of a thing. Like find something that motivates you, and if there is a thing, go for it. Like that's totally fine. The only caution, like any book's fine. Like right, if there are ideas you're interested in, go for it. The only caution I have on the philosophy front is sometimes you get like this like religious mystic philosophy kind of stuff where they're like pitching it as philosophy to make it seem like more intellectual or academic or whatever. And if you want to read that, that's fine, but don't make the mistake of thinking like you're getting into the same sort of philosophy that you would see in like an academic philosophy department. And so for something like that, like go Plato or Aristotle or whatever, like you can't go wrong with that stuff, and you'll definitely be in the wheelhouse. I had one of my former professors at the liberal arts school I went to, Pacific Lutheran University, so always would tell me about some of the applications they would get. So they have a new philosophy professor thing, and they're like, the people you get applying to philosophy departments are crazy. They're like, if you're a math department, people are like, well, I know I had to have studied math. But people who apply to philosophy departments are like, I have a special life philosophy that I have like honed out in the in the sticks.
In the field.
Yeah. And I think I'd like to come teach it to your students. It's like, no, we need somebody who can do formal logic. Like that's what are you doing?
That's funny. Yeah, I could totally see that. Very cool.
Cool.
Someone asked your favorite car. Do you have a favorite car brand?
Favorite car brands? Well, I'm employed by Ford, so
Oh,
There you go.
that's
that. the only way.
Ford is the answer. I'm sure you're watching, Jim.
My grandpa worked at Ford too, so Ford's a good answer.
That's fantastic.
Love there. I don't think we put this caveat. The opinions that I have made on this channel are not necessarily reflective or endorsed by Ford, except my correct and true ones, which was all of them. So we're fine.
So you're good.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Cool. Well,
Perfect.
Everyone watching, go over to Casey's channels. They're both linked down below, both his personal one and then his podcast that he runs. Both worth checking out and subscribing to. And like we had said, like the very rare thing when it comes to AI content is being kind of sane in it. And so they definitely provide a lot of that. So go over and support their channel. It'll continue to grow, and it's for good reason. It's great content. So go show them some love.
Oh, thanks so much. This has been super fun. I
Likewise.
really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, anytime y'all want to chat, let me know. I'd be happy to come and talk with you guys.
We'll definitely have you back on for sure. The chat loved you as well. So we really appreciate your time, Casey.
Thanks, everybody.
And Casey, prepare yourself, because maybe what we'll do is we'll get you an actual Bitcoin maximalist and have you guys spar a little bit too, because I think that could be a lot of fun.
Oh, please.
That'd be fun.
I'd be happy to. Like I would like to learn something. Yeah.
That'd be super cool. Because I love the way that you're able to attack something, right? Because like, even when we typically have said in the past this, and they had a similar perspective of you, they couldn't really tell me why oftentimes. So I love the way that your brain went. So that'd be a lot of fun, Keith. That's a great idea.
Totally.
Sweet. Thanks, awesome. Casey. We appreciate you, man. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye-bye. All right, chat. How are we, Keith? How are you?
Doing fantastic, man. Another incredible conversation.
No, that was freaking awesome. Casey's cool, man. I've seen a few episodes of his pod. They just launched that thing. It'll blow up in a big way.
It's already doing numbers.
Yeah, it will, because it's good. There's not a lot there like that. There's not that many options for that. So it'll do really well. And both the guys there, both hosts are cool dudes. So yeah, thank you to Casey for coming on. And I love like building up a catalog of awesome people that will come on again too. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Casey definitely falls into that.
Oh, dude, it'd be so sick if he comes back on. And I had to plant the seed of the idea of him talking to Bitcoin people so that he actually reads the white paper too.
Yes,
because then we didn't set him up. You know what I'm saying?
No, totally. Keith's always got great ideas, and that's definitely one of them. So that's awesome. That'd be a lot of fun. And I also think the world needs conversations like that really bad, because everything that he's saying, I didn't even really try to like argue on it, because I know we didn't have the time. But like, I totally get why someone's brain would go there. Like, it made total sense.
Yeah, I'm super curious to hear what someone else's responses would have been to those things, because just it'll be cool. Obviously, Ricky Zhang is the guy who's converted me into much more of the Bitcoin maximalist than anyone else, and that's why I'm there with him. Yeah, I think that'd be sick.
They could talk. That could be a good one, because I think that could be a good conversation. We'll have to think through who would be the Bitcoin opposition, but it's definitely an option.
Yeah, man. Because it's like the idea of the energy being, it's fake energy. It's like, oh, but people they're putting it there, like they are. You know.
I also love the point that you made, Keith, about how and this kind of relates back to my whole general thesis that the controller of the narrative is the controller of everything, because people always say this is such a waste of energy, but they're not thinking of the humans. Like the point that you made, right? You're like, well, what about human energy that's getting robbed every single day? We're more worried about being inefficient with the capturing of electricity than we are the fact that Susie has to work so many hours she doesn't get paid for, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that's right. Where's the human component? And like, that's not anything he's done wrong. Don't get me wrong. That's just the messaging that's been delivered to us over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be fun because it's the money conversation.
Yes.
It's like, are we okay with how it is, and is this alternative actually net worse, and if so, in what way?
And I also think the opportunity to adjust who's in control or even have that conversation brought up is a very compelling reason to look into these things, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that's how you get a lot of people a lot more interested in, is if you follow back the control, the centralization of power from the centralization of money. Because again, we talked about so many times, but we repeat it because it's very important. People don't grasp money at all. Like, they don't understand, but they know they hate the politician. Why is that guy even in there? It's because of money. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, super cool to see in the chat too. Self-reliance. You said this on my channel too. I guess on our live stream that we did on the members only. But him and then Lucas also saying that he's got some same. He said, self-reliance said, "I'm holding the XRP that I have, and I stopped investing there and started redirecting that money to Bitcoin."
I told you, brother Keith. People, they're smart, man. They change their minds.
So yes, Jay Heron, I love that you keep coming around even as we have some of these tougher
It's
conversations.
super important that
too.
you continue to do that. That's awesome, because like, we're all spitballing, like,
Yeah.
and I think that that's the whole thing, right? But I also would challenge you: is there anything I could say that would change your mind? And if the answer is no, that's concerning.
Yeah.
He said he
Yeah,
studied
'cause-
both. Okay, fair.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, it's been super interesting because, like I said, I saw Bitcoin. That was the thing that introduced me to the concept. But then I was like, my mind already, just because of my own disposition in life, was like, okay, but like, what's going to attack that? Because that's too powerful. If that's what's happening, it's too powerful.
Makes total
Someone's
sense.
going to try to shut that thing down.
No, and I get it, and I also think that Jay Huron is a lot more educated on all of this stuff than the average XRP holder.
Oh, for sure.
Like inordinately more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome that you're here, and if you believe that, you should keep saying it and keep telling us, right?
Yeah, man.
Try to bounce stuff on you guys. You're my nemesis. That's awesome. We appreciate you, Jay Huron. We hope you're doing well too, man.
Oh, it didn't even pop up for me yet. Yeah, so super cool stuff. Yeah, I saw something, Lucas Hawkins, about one of these platforms also like automatically staking some stuff or something. There's like a little bit of a debate going on about, I don't know if it was Uphold or not, but they're like automatically enrolling people into staking services. I don't know if it's Uphold. I'm sorry if it's not Uphold.
For which asset?
It might be for everything. So yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I don't know if you guys have heard about that. If you had anything on that in the comments, let me know in the chat. Because that's a crazy concept. If you're automatically being enrolled into staking, because that has tax implications, it has potential lockup period implications and stuff like that. So I saw people talking about that in one of my group chats.
Fascinating.
What did you see in the comments?
Nothing. Just Noxo said, "Yo, Ripple owns everything. It's the BlackRock arm."
Yeah.
It's XRP.
Yeah, guys, like, I'm definitely like, look, you know what I mean? Like, if they pull it off, we win. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad about that. But the thing that I came to with Ricky when I was talking to him, I was like, XRP and anything else really winning requires something to happen that hasn't happened yet.
Versus, isn't that true for anything?
But with Bitcoin, I don't like, there isn't like something that just like hasn't happened that needs to be done besides what you would say, which is like being able to actually put the, like to have the social media aspect existing on top of Bitcoin. But other than that, like it's already done. Like the thing that needed to make it work, which is having
adoption,
all these independent people using it, has already happened. It's kind of like the only thing.
Massive head start there in terms of adoption. And also, as some people would say, the fact that there's multiple narratives and Bitcoin can mean different things to different people, that's also just like a product market fits thing, right? Like whenever you build out a product, it makes sense to you, but how you see it is not necessarily exactly how your customers will see it. So you have to figure out over time like what these stories are, and Bitcoin maxis have had the most opportunities to try different stories. Right?
Totally.
So it's like that's part of the game as well. But yeah, lots of fun. Before we move into the second half, did you want to tell people some good news?
Well, we've got some incredible news for the loyal people of the audience here at Memes and Markets. It finally happened. It has been done. We have a private Discord community where you guys can join us in these conversations after hours, is how I would look at it, right? So we've been doing this for like 8 months now and just getting to know a lot of you guys, but we want to have ways to do that better. So we opened up the Discord. You can find it in the description. What we're doing with it is obviously you'll get access to just like staying on top of everything that we're doing, right? That's one piece of it. Another piece of it is just having more different types of conversations that we might be having a little bit of here, but then we have to stay on topic and stuff like that. So we can have this space where we can continue to have those conversations. You guys can also give us suggestions for the different things that you think that we should be talking about on the show as well. And just in general, getting to know each other all a lot better. We will also, Ben and I will be sending some of the things that we're watching, right? Whether that's stuff that's on YouTube specifically, which a lot of it will be from YouTube, like things that we're actually watching in long form, as well as things that we might think that you want to keep up with. It might be on Twitter. A lot of stuff that Ben sends me is actually longer form videos on Twitter because Twitter's been killing that game now. So, just trying to like make sure that everyone's staying up to date with all the things that we think are important that we can't always share in the bit of time that we have on the show. So that's what's going on.
No, I'm super amped for that. And I have been curating my algorithms for like a decade at this point to find the best sauce and to find it early too. So I'll be sharing some of the best stuff that I can in there. I can also provide a little more context on like why I think it's relevant or important. And I think that's where I will be able to provide the most value to you guys as an appreciation for the time that you guys have spent with us, and excited to get to know all of y'all better and build a really strong core community there. And because we always want to take advantage of our people who believed in us earlier than the masses that when they come in, right? We will also be doing a discounted price for the first month. So it'll be the cheapest that it will ever be within the first month. We want to make sure that it was at a price point that made it so that not everyone jumped in there, but it was affordable enough that anyone who wanted to could. And that's really what the goal was there. So you can lock in your rate. And as long as you're part of that initial first month, your rate will never change, even as it does go up in price. So we're always being thoughtful of that. And this is also like, when you go through and click the link, it's linked in the description box down below. And we'll also add it to the pinned comment after this is uploaded. But if you go through and watch Keith's video explaining what will be in there, the additional perks there is that because you are our core people, you'll also get access to our core projects earlier, right? Because we'll be going back and forth with you. And then it also gives you guys an opportunity to shape the content that you're seeing here too, in terms of maybe assisting with news stories. And one idea that I had to Keith in our internal Slack, I was like, we should let the Discord members pick some of the one words for the one word game, things like that. We'll definitely find ways to get it more and more involved. So Lucas says couldn't see it in the description. I'm pretty sure it's there.
It's where it says join the Memes and Markets private community, and you might have to refresh too because it could be that if you clicked on the stream super early. If you were super early, then you gotta refresh.
Yeah, and then it'll also be in the pinned comment if you come back later. And we're going to go through the back catalog of content and add it to every description box. So it should be readily available soon.
Fantastic.
Cool.
But yep. Yep. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for that. With that,
I'll throw it in the chat too, just for everyone before we move on. I'll find the link and then throw it in there. And then this should hopefully make it easier. Join the Memes and Markets community. Got it. Okay. And then, whoops, wrong thing. I copied and pasted the wrong thing. That's his podcast. So if you want to go free promo, go show the podcast some love.
Yeah, check out Casey Hart's pod.
There we go. Cool. Well, yeah, amped to see all y'all in there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But anything else you want to speak on the community piece?
No, man. Super excited for it. It'll continue to shape as you guys shape it with us. So
Sweet. Cool. Well, then should we move into the second half, Keith? Did he freeze? How are we doing, chat? I guess we'll wait for him to come back to move into the second half. It's just me and producer Sharp and the chat. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Organize it called So Keith will be right back. And if this is the first time that you're watching a stream, make sure to click subscribe and turn those bell notifications on so that you get notified whenever we do go live. On this channel, it'll only be live streams that will ever send you notifications. So definitely subscribe and turn those on so you can come hang out with us and experience our wonderful technical difficulties. Keith, are you there? There he is. But he's still stuck for me. There he is.
no. Oh. Can you hear me?
I can. It sounds a little bit robo, but I think we'll sort it out. I guess he's going to be controlling the news, right? So that's kind of important that his stuff is consistent. But I can try to do it. I can try to take over.
To reconnect.
You look clear now, but your face isn't moving. Well, the internet's fun, isn't it? Is there two Keiths now? I see two Keiths. The bottom one's working though.
This is the real me.
I think you're good. Okay. Yeah. Let's move into the second half.
All right. Run it.
Sipa, are you there? There we go. Come on. I got to jump back in. They got to fix this.
Yeah. All right. I will pull up the... Oh, because it won't even let me, actually.
Okay, there we go now.
All right.
They're cheesing me.
Cheesing me, dog. Well, the first piece of news... Oh, wow. It's got a graphic moving and stuff. We're getting up there.
Oh, producer Sharp is snapping today.
Going crazy on him. You've probably seen and heard about this hack that has happened with the Cold Card Wallet, which is a Bitcoin-only hard wallet that has been exposed over the weekend. So as this happened, Jack Mallers in the news again, folks. This time, he's urging Cold Card users to act on a critical wallet security flaw. There was a firmware bug that made seed phrases weak, letting attackers steal Bitcoin from a remote location. There were hundreds of wallets that lost tens of millions in Bitcoin within minutes, and affected users need to go out and create new seeds and move their funds at once. By the way, if you haven't done that just yet, which hopefully you have by now, because otherwise you might have been affected. But yeah. The toll on this has continued to get higher and higher. It's at over $100 million in the value of the Bitcoin that's been stolen so far.
Bro.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because a lot of these people were the most diehard and did extra work to protect themselves.
Yeah. I mean, this is rough. I did a little story about it and someone commented, and this is someone who's been a huge follower of my stuff. And he was like, I thought this was supposed to be safe. Like, I thought the whole point of this was that, like, it can't be hacked and that it's safe and stuff. And then he was like, I'm out. And I was like, I can't blame you, because if you really were listening to, like, all the big Bitcoin people were promoting this particular even hard wallet for your Bitcoin holdings. And this is supposed to be the standard of safety in this space. And if that's exposed, then like what's safe at this point? You know?
That was my whole reason why I couldn't be a Bitcoin maxi, man. Was this shit right here. Because everyone's saying that like people wouldn't change their mind. How many of these things have to happen before people change their mind?
I mean, the truth is that the real Bitcoin maxi is going to look at this and say that you did it wrong
Why is that?
because you've used a third-party tool to secure your Bitcoin, which was never the goal. That was never the point.
So what should they do?
Like Jeff Booth says, you run your own node and you protect your own. You have your own private key. You could write it down on a piece of paper or whatever.
Totally.
But yeah, they've delegated the private key technically to a service provider.
Yes. And it's kind of ironic because I do believe that this provider of card, they created their own technology because they didn't want to use what was the industry standard because that was made by wallets that also allowed for altcoins. So this was like out of a point of Bitcoin maximalism, right? Where they created their own technology and then that was the downfall. So yeah, it's definitely tough. Things like these are going to happen more and more, not just in Web3 or Bitcoin, blockchain, and whatever. It'll also happen in traditional finance, as we've discussed a ton. So yeah, we're going to be unfortunately saying these things somewhat frequently in both worlds.
Yeah. I'll keep running through some of the news because this continued to develop. So far, attackers stole up to 2,000 Bitcoin from over 7,700 cold card wallets that had a 2021 firmware flaw. Galaxy Research has tracked the thefts. Look on Chain has reported the coordinated sweeps of dormant single SIG wallets starting July 30th. And then the thief's Bitcoin address now holds hundreds of Bitcoin and acts as a public message board. This was something that was fascinating. So Cyber Satoshi was talking about this. He said, the thief's address have become the most chaotic public bulletin board on Bitcoin, with current messages including things like laundering ads, I clean BTC, do KYC, take 10%. So like basically people are saying, if you're trying to launder this, come here. And for people who like you can send messages to an address, right? So people are sending messages on the Bitcoin protocol. And these are the things that they're saying. They're like an ad for a laundering service. Oh, you need help like laundering this? I got you. Some people are begging. They're saying, please give me back 80% of my 5 Bitcoin. Life stories, apparently, if people talking about their wife fighting cancer. There are philosophical quotes being sent, haikus, 5 Bitcoin for illicit substances as a message on there. So anyways, fascinating how this open technology makes this possible. And this is how people react. So Galaxy Research and the FBI are publicly tracking nearly every stolen coin on the blockchain. Almost none of the funds have moved, leaving the thieves unable to spend most of it as of right now. And we had the Joe Consorti, who was on the pod before, having some words about this. Let's hear some of what he had to say.
$90+ million in Bitcoin was stolen in the last 2 days. And I want you to notice something the thief has surely noticed by now. He cannot spend a single one of those Bitcoin. What do I mean by that? Well, every coin that he took is sitting frozen in plain sight, watched in real time by everybody all over the world, by federal investigators, by an army of volunteers who do this for the love of Bitcoin. The stolen funds haven't moved since they were taken. So why is that? Why was all of this Bitcoin stolen, but nothing is being done with any of it so far? Well, that's because the same transparency that lets you verify your own Bitcoin is sitting there also means that this 9-figure theft is now the most visible money on earth. $90+ million in Bitcoin was stolen in the last.
So, is that messed up? Where it's showing me that there's nothing on stage.
Yeah, it says nothing on stage.
Yikes. Well, let me just. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that these guys, if they did this, that they weren't ready to move on that, because I haven't actually paid that much attention to it. It felt to me that if they were going to do this, usually it's like it's gone by the time people are trying to figure out what's happening. So definitely a different situation here, where like trying to mix and stuff will be a lot harder because now all eyes are already on. So yeah, that's interesting.
Could probably a really dumb question, but like if this sort of happened and you were to figure out who did it, like can the network agree to not participate with that individual?
Um, I mean, you could. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. It's like the wallet itself. You could fork the chain.
That's what
Period.
I'm. Yeah.
Which, if for something like this, I don't think people would do it.
Fair.
Yeah, it just would have to be. It'd have to be a much larger incident for people to actually fork the chain. I mean, it's possible, but yeah, I don't think that's where people are at. Which I don't know why. That'd be a good question for the maximalists and stuff. Like,
I'm sure
why
there's very good
not?
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, um, yeah, yeah. I don't know. So some more of the story here as it develops. You had victims were mostly dedicated Bitcoin holders using an air-gapped cold card for top security. So let's see this from Autism Capital. He said, "Look, this is actually devastating because the people using cold cards were the biggest, most security conscious type of Bitcoin holder. They were the ones who believed in so much in the mission of Bitcoin that they actually learned how to set up a cold card. The true believers got rugged. Very sad." And then Rob Warren over here, he said, "It's ready. Ismyseedsafe.com." So Alpha Co said, "Some dude posted a website to see if your seed phrase is safe, and people are actually clicking the link. Genuinely an IQ test." So I wanted to share this because, like, in a moment like this, you're not thinking, right? You're panicking, trying to figure out what's going on. And this could easily be a way that someone takes advantage of that. I don't know what's happening here. I have no idea. But the response to this is real, right? Like, if someone's posting something to help you figure out if your seed phrase is safe, you got to be super careful about that. Like, in my mind, like, I thought it was just purely a joke of like someone's clicking on this link and then typing in their seed phrase. But maybe that's not what's happening. Maybe it's less facetious than that. It's more of an idea of like you put your public address and then they try to help you figure out if you're compromised or not. But either way, in a moment like this, probably not a great idea to be clicking a bunch of links and sharing any information with anyone about anything. So just something I want to reiterate for anyone who's dealing with this or who may deal with something like this in the future.
And so what can someone do to avoid something being this bad? Because I know you can't fully avoid everything, but you can diminish your individual risk.
Yeah. I preach over and over again the importance of, if you're going to have these digital assets in a self-custodial way, that really you consider having different methods in which that you do that. And even for me, it means also having custodial methods of ownership as well. Because here's the thing: all the people who keep on coming back at me saying, "Oh, but that's not what crypto's about," you're probably using something that's not the safest way to hold your crypto either. Like, all the people who tell me that it's not a good idea to have some of your crypto on a centralized exchange are people that use a hardware wallet that some third party provider has created. And you're not running a node and you don't have a paper wallet. You don't know your private key. You've delegated that to someone. So it's like, if you're not Jeff Booth telling me to run my own node, then I think that you probably should actually listen to what I'm saying because these things can happen. But so to fully lay it out, you've got centralized custody, which means you've got centralized exchanges, Coinbase, Robinhood, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to like them. I don't like them. I hold some of my stuff there. And I have them across different centralized exchanges. Wow, great. Then there's the software, the non-custodial versions of this. Okay, I've got different software that I use for different stuff, spread all across different wallets, different places. And then you might have hardware. And then you might have multiple hardware that you hold and store these things on, so that there's probably 16, 8+ places in which all of these things exist, so that if one incident happens, you've only lost 1/16 at the most. Versus in a lot of cases, this was everything that people had. And it's not a matter of, oh, like, like, the only way to actually mitigate this stuff in terms of the fact that when something happens, it's permanent, is to actually have it in different places where there's no particular place where it can be actually devastating for you. Oh, and the other thing I said is ETFs, and people are mad. They're mad at me. How would you use an ETF? That defeats the whole purpose. I'm not completely on the side of the idea that all the self-custody stuff is going to completely be normal and cool forever. Especially third-party people. You're talking about Ledger and Trezor. Like, brother, they have to answer to governments. You talking to me?
My bad, I was muted. Yeah, I was saying like extra work for, are you sure this actually is doing what you think you're doing? Like, is the juice worth the squeeze here?
In terms of using a hardware wallet?
Well, yeah, versus what you're saying in terms of, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that that is one potential pro to doing something via an ETF, right? Is the fact that you don't have these risks.
Right, exactly. It's a different, I mean, you've delegated it, rather. I won't say you don't have the risk, you've delegated it.
Yes.
And so,
but even
just understanding that.
Like, let's say the ETF provider had their Bitcoin taken from them. I'm assuming that's insured in some way, right?
To some degrees, some of that would be insured, right? Now, I don't know about that, because what I kept looking into as I was looking into SIP insurance is that it protects you against the entity, right? So if that event led to BlackRock going bankrupt, then yes,
but not against losing the asset.
But not necessarily the actual asset itself, because think about it, this never existed before. So the rules don't technically cover that.
Wow.
But the custodial platforms do have insurance, okay? Like, that's the whole reason people trust them. That's the only reason and it's actually kind of wild when you think about it, guys. Like, this stuff is all being wrapped back into the traditional financial system. Like, there are insurers who will insure against this Bitcoin. And so that creates a whole new industry, right, that didn't exist before. And these custodial platforms like BitGo, Coinbase Custody, all of them, they have these insurances, right? So that would be insured. So either BlackRock is going to take the hit, or rather, either the insurance company is going to take the hit, pay out the custodial platform, and the custodial platform pays out BlackRock, or you'd get directly from the custodial platform that has the insurance, which I don't know how that would work in practice, but there are things that are in place if you use the ETF.
Totally. Yeah. Anything we missed, let us know in the comments as always. But yeah, that's good stuff.
So yeah, let me see what the comments, because I'm sure you guys are.
I can't see the chat anymore. It's gone.
Oh no. Yeah, and then Brandon once said, "What if they just refunded it? That would be wild."
I just gave it back.
There was a Ricky actually put out a piece that was really interesting. I haven't fully listened to it, but I saw the text. He was basically saying, "Look, like, there is an option. Like that is technically an option." Another one that he pointed out was like they could also send it as a miner fee. Like, they could basically take this Bitcoin and just like recirculate it into the ecosystem by paying miners. That's an option. And like, in what other circumstances is that an option? Pretty much none. In the fiat system, you can't really just, if you had stolen that money, it'd be really hard to just give it back. I don't know, maybe not actually. If you were just talking a bank account, it'd be pretty easy, but not to give it to the entire system. That would be really hard to do, impossible to do, really. So I thought that was an interesting take. Let's see, but yeah, so I'm trying to see what the comments are saying. I'm sure you guys are saying some interesting stuff. Carlton said the feds are going to find the thief. It's very possible. Right. Noxo said, don't they go straight into a mixer? I'm like, yeah, I don't understand why they didn't do that. That's definitely kind of weird to me.
You think if you're pulling off something this big, you'd be, unless like, was it achieved by someone who knows that little?
Or that just has some other motive too. Once again, I did my little conspiracy.
Did you? What was it?
I on Instagram, I posted a conspiracy of like,
yes.
well, what if this is about
Share it. Yeah.
getting people away from self-custody, like just to scare everyone out of it in the first place, and then push lawmakers toward it again of like, you guys can't do this. This is hurting people, blah, blah, blah. It definitely feeds that narrative. And also for the people who like you mentioned, been like, these are the hardcore people. So if they're going to get converted and like they're the ones hitting up the FBI now, no offense. but I do see it on Twitter. They're calling the feds, bro. Trying to figure out how to get it back.
That's awesome.
So, in some ways, it does feed into that narrative.
I did see that video, and I was like nodding my head the whole time. I'm like, I could totally see that being a potential reality, and that's something that I thought, as well. There's definitely a potential for that.
Totally. Moving on from that, there's a couple other pieces. Tim Lamb. Oh yeah, dude, I was watching some of the comments because, so Tim Lamb was a guy who said, look, I've got everything stolen away. I was on holiday, blah, blah, blah. And then Oliver was like, I'm so sorry. I got hit too. He was apparently, I guess, one of the guys promoting these cold cards. And so he was like, dude, I got hit too. And I'm so sorry. Like, file, with the National Cybercrime Unit, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, thanks, I'll take that advice. And then another guy, Jonathan Goodman, 1.6 million in CAD, in Bitcoin, was stolen. And then he also went to the police and filed a police report. And then there was one other one. Yeah, there was one other one. Oh, I don't know if we got it. This guy, Struff, said, I started saving in Bitcoin in 2015. I didn't trust the institution, so I bought a cold card, stamped my seed in a steel plate, and thought I was safe. My life savings was taken from me today. I don't know what to do. Do I have any options? Jack Mollers, I appreciate your insights. He says, I'm sorry. And once again, it's actually to go to the feds. It's to file a police report is the thing that someone should do. I'm trying to see, because I know I sent one where somebody was also saying, he was like, look, I'm out. Because that's what this is causing for people. It's like,
at least in the short term, that's a very natural response.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what people were saying in the comments of mine. They were like, yeah, they're out now, but as soon as the price goes back up, everything's going to change again, right? But these are the types of things that happen absolutely in a bear market, for sure, that end up being those capitulating moments where everything is over. At the end of the day, the bear market ends in these types of moments, to be fair. But yeah, I think that's all I've got there on that story. Anything you want to say on that?
No, I think you covered that very well from many angles.
Cool. So you've yapped on that for quite some time, sir.
No, I'm saying that's great. That's what you're here for. That's freaking awesome. I was more giving you praise.
Another piece here, Strategy also making some bearish news waves, selling 1,600 Bitcoin for cash. By the way, that's like more Bitcoin than this entire hack, if I'm not lost. It's another $100 million worth of Bitcoin being sold. They also raised about $290 million by selling common stock. And then they're using part of the cash to repurchase STRC preferred shares. And STRC is one of Strategy's dividend-paying preferred stock products. So this move shows how Strategy funds dividends, reserves, and buybacks. So this has been causing some drama again. Have you seen any of the drama?
Not really.
Oh man, people are like just playing all the old clips of him saying never sell, never sell. This guy said Saylor has sold Bitcoin again. If it stays at these amounts and the market gradually gets used to the selling story, there won't be a problem. However, if the institutions grow seriously, if the amounts grow seriously, or if only conservative selling transactions start to take place one after another, this is a new story and accordingly will experience its negative pricing. I'm trying to see, because I definitely saw some people roasting him. This guy said, Luke Martin said, when you increase USD reserve instead of sold for a loss. It's Chamath in his fancy sweater. Yeah, so this one is popping up. I guess he just posted this again. When Michael Saylor, he said here, when I say never sell your Bitcoin, I speak as one saver to another. I have never sold mine, not one Satoshi. Strategy is a public company, not my wallet. Since 2020, it has disclosed it may buy or sell to manage capital. Our shared conviction in Bitcoin remains unchanged. Peter Schiff getting into the mix. He said, yes, but you knew the impression you were creating, and you never bothered to clarify it. So either that was a deliberate attempt to deceive, or you actually meant that strategy would never sell and are now lying to cover your A. Either way, it's not good. And then more Crypto Online said, first time I agree with Schiff. Oh, man.
Yeah, those are usually bottoms when you see people who don't like each other, like agreeing on stuff like this.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. See, they sold Bitcoin. It's pretty funny to see how. Yeah. So, anyways, that's something that's been going on as well, guys. So just letting y'all know, Strategy sold some more Bitcoin. Anything else you want to touch on there?
Nope.
I do think it's worth pointing out that these are getting bigger. Like they are selling more and more. So
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah. How? But yeah, they just need the price to go up. But that would solve a lot of these problems. But
no doubt. And to be fair, if things are less volatile than they have in the past, then they're pretty much already through the worst part of this, and they should be fine.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't touch it, but they'll probably be fine.
Yeah. Next piece, BlackRock tokenizing funds on Ethereum. So they've just launched tokenized shares of its 6.2 billion treasury fund on Ethereum with BNY Mellon. It is a BSRV ticker, and this fund debuts multi-chain with Securitize as a transfer agent. Apparently, it both holds cash, short-term treasuries, and repo, and this targets Genius Act stablecoin reserve eligibility. And this is the world's largest asset manager and custodian, expanding tokenized liquidity products on Ethereum. Interesting.
Definitely a big deal, and also definitely speaks to who's involved with ETH/building on ETH. Like, I think they're going to get a lot of good news here pretty soon.
Absolutely. It speaks to it. There's no denying it. This guy, Inc. on Chain, said the world's largest asset manager and the world's largest custodian are both building on Ethereum.
It's when you see, like, I understand that the emotional part of it for all these crypto projects, and you look at the price and it's pretty debilitating, especially for how long it's gone on for, especially for ETH not coming back to an all-time high for that long. But so we can look at the market and say that things are irrationally high everywhere. Things can be irrationally low too. And I would argue pretty adamantly that the entire crypto market is in that situation.
That's fair. Because even prices going up doesn't mean that they're not still undervalued.
Yeah, like I was explaining this to someone yesterday, and I said, if I told you that there were iPhones down the road on sale for $150, how many would you go buy? They're like, yeah, a ton. Okay. And now if I told you now they're on the same iPhones now on sale for $50, would you still be buying? It's like, yeah, but everyone's so scared. They don't think about it like that, right? And I'm not saying that anything is like Apple, but I'm just using that as an analogy because everybody wants an iPhone. You know what I mean? Or a cell phone, whatever, for all Android heads.
Yeah, for all Android heads. Mariana, I would love for you to maybe retype that one because I think you said it potentially different than what I'm interpreting it as. But you said, isn't having a hot wallet the idea of you being your own bank with crypto? Self-custody, right? Once you start moving it, it can incur changes, is my understanding. Testing this new technology. So a hot wallet is technically a wallet that's like online that typically you're using an exchange for as well, right? So it means that the funds are online and accessible through some sort of an online interface. That's how I would define the hot wallet. And therefore, it's actually the opposite of being your own bank with crypto. You would want it to be in either an offline source. You can technically have a non-custodial hot wallet, but usually a hot wallet, what people are talking about is one that's custodial. Let's see.
Yeah, that's actually true. There's a famous clip of Saylor talking about, I think it was the iPhone or Apple back in the day.
Oh,
yeah.
We played it, I think.
Yeah, I think we have before.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really funny. But anything else there? Or do you want to move on to the next story?
No, just some people, Self-Reliance OS says Saylor has been compromised. In which way? In which way? Saylor is that Mavs GM. Saylor's, he's talking about
Cuban?
Cuban? Mark Cuban?
The Saylor was in the Epstein files, but like it was saying how they're basically like saying how he's like super autistic, and he didn't want to touch with it. So yeah, that was wild to read.
Yeah, that's an awesome appearance to make if you're gonna make one. Next story here is Kenya anchors academic records on Avalanche. Kenya's
they have been quiet.
It's super. Kenya's KNEC puts 30 million plus academic credentials on the Avalanche blockchain. These records become instantly verifiable and resistant to forgery. Targets widespread fake certificates that plague public service and hiring. That's good use.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's gonna be there's so many things that people aren't realizing are really inefficient within our world that can become really efficient with a lot of these technologies that already exist. And a lot of these chains are making partnerships behind the scenes that oftentimes they don't even announce good news until people care about good news. Right. So when you see prices move, then there'll be so many things that come out as if they're current releases and they were done months ago or years ago, because there's no marginal utility for me sharing this now. So I don't. And that's why I was sending voice notes to Keith last night. I'm like, I'm telling you, NFTs will come back, bro. I'm telling you, NFTs will come back, especially because I see all the things that are happening across the world that these projects are getting done. And yeah, crypto will come back. NFTs will come back. I'm very confident in both. But did you have anything about the story in particular?
No, I totally agree with that piece. And it's like first, I was gonna say, I've seen projects do this. Like if you're like in their discords, like they'll kind of be more, like you'll notice this more because you'll see the announcements come out way later. But they know, like they'll even say sometimes like, oh, we're gonna announce this like when it makes sense.
it's only valuable for like the attraction mechanism of the price going up when prices are going up, right? There has to be buyers to buy this news. And that doesn't happen unless the price goes. Like people think that the news makes the chart move. The chart move creates the news.
Totally.
Right? But people don't. I thought there was like narrative. It's like
100%. So apparently Tux and Tool is saying that he's talking about the GM that traded Lula. I'm not
Kula.
hit.
Sorry, Luca. Sorry, I meant to say. I think he's talking about Luca. Yeah.
Okay.
So that wasn't Saylor, was it?
No, but I guess he's saying that he's making the analogy that he's doing the same thing as the guy who traded Luca, right?
Saying what, he would never trade him?
Or like he made a dumb decision, right? Because he did, like, wasn't Luca traded for some like stupid trade or something? I don't know. I don't.
But yeah, totally fair. They traded him, but then they happened to get the first overall pick after they made that trade. After they traded them to the biggest market in the NBA,
which was who?
Los Angeles.
Okay.
And they just happened to get the first overall pick in the lottery. Whoa, coincidence. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs, the biggest market in the NHL, happens to get the generational superstar this year. Happens to. It's all horseshit. The lotteries are actually smart because you can rig it more.
Why?
Because you dictate the balls, right? Like it's far easier to, because so in the NFL, let's say your record is your draft position.
Okay, interesting.
Whereas in the NHL and the NBA, they conduct draft lotteries. So you get a certain amount of percentage of opportunity to win based on how bad you were.
Right.
But even as the worst team in the NHL, you still only have like I don't know the specifics. Like, let's say a 20% chance of getting the first overall pick.
Gotcha.
And the Leafs, who have had like some tough goes as of late, they get this kid from Canada and they were like the 11th worst or something like that. Like their odds to get it was pretty horrific, and they happened to get it. This shit that happens too much for it to not be. I'm sure people will tell me, oh, like they check the balls, all these things. I'm like, how are there this many coincidences? There's no way.
Fascinating.
Producer Kurt, former producer Kurt, big Leafs fan. He literally said before it started, he's like, a lot of things have gone this way. The Leafs are going to get McKenna. And he was right.
Wow.
So this shit happens all the time.
Fascinating piece there. So yeah, I don't know if we fully completed whatever the analogy was there, but if you guys have some updates on what you're saying about Sailor, would love to hear what you were saying there. And then let me see. The next piece, this was super interesting. Telegram removed worldwide from the Apple App Store.
That's crazy.
So yeah, okay. So apparently the community notes is saying that Telegram has been restored on the App Store and should be soon available again for all users. Well, interesting. So yeah, anyway, so that happened over the past couple of days. I figured that if it did happen, it was something that would be short term because there's just no way that without any announcement, right, that that's happening. If it was backed with some announcement, it would make more sense. But apparently what happened here is that Apple was acting after finding child material violating its guidelines. And Telegram deleted the content, banned the user, and the app returned hours later. Existing installs kept working. Android users via Google Play were unaffected. And sudden delisting of a major messaging app sparked widespread attention.
What's up, Asipa? Oh, wow.
Oh. Okay.
Hot news off the press.
Cool.
There's
Yep.
been a post
So apparently
go ahead.
The founder made a post. So
Whoa.
he said last night, Apple briefly removed Telegram from the App Store because a user had planted illegal content in a public chat. Telegram was restored within hours, but I want to explain what happened to warn other app developers to help protect online communities from similar attacks. Because Telegram quickly removes illegal content from public groups using all kinds of moderation tools, the attacker had to resort to a technical trick. He inserted AI-modified illegal content by editing an old message in an active group chat. As a result, the content was effectively hidden from the group's members, preventing them from seeing it and reporting it. Oh, that's super interesting. So he went back and edited something that was already there so that no one would have seen it unless they scrolled all the way back. So the attacker was a takedown extortionist, someone who demands ransom from group owners in exchange for not targeting their communities. These extortionists use automated accounts to plant illegal content in public groups and then report it directly to Apple, attempting to trigger the removal of legitimate communities whose owners refuse to pay them. From a practical standpoint, illegal content like this in Telegram's public groups is not a systematic problem. Our moderation is effective. The fact that attackers must resort to backdated, effectively invisible content and other technical tricks proves this. However, there are two important lessons here for app developers and online communities. One, extortionists have found a way to manipulate Apple into overreacting. Apple removed Telegram from the App Store before contacting us. This creates potential systemic risk for every mobile app that hosts user-generated content. If an app used by more than 1 billion people can be removed from the App Store without prior warning, any app can. The tactics used by extortionists are evolving, putting community across social platforms at risk. Telegram has extensive experience identifying the tricks used by coordinated reporting gangs and protecting legitimate communities, even when doing so risk our own app being temporarily removed from the App Store. Other platforms may not be equally prepared. Stay vigilant.
Man, it also does make sense why the narrative will probably shift towards attacking big tech, right? To make people feel like enacting all of these kinds of rules and restrictions is a public win. Do you get what I mean? Because like they have all the power over this, right? And so if Apple's like, our hands are tied, like we legally have to do it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. During some of this, Telegram was making some posts. They were saying reports of my demise are greatly exaggerated. Did not miss out on the opportunity to get some extra press out of the situation.
Why not?
And then they posted this one saying, "Are you not entertained?" And then also apparently they just reacted to this tweet from Pavel as well, saying, "Silence mortals, the founder has spoken."
At least they got a bit of a sense of humor.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was what happened there. Anything else you want to talk about with that piece?
No, man. I think that's a lot of the points that he laid out are things that a lot of people don't consider. Like the monopoly power that Apple has from full control of the App Store is crazy. From a money standpoint, because we as app providers have to pay 30% to Apple on every transaction. But the bigger piece is the control of what users can even access. Like that's a huge deal. It's a very, very big deal. But then you also got to wonder, like, is this going to have more of like a Streisand effect where people are going to see the reason for more decentralized options of these kinds of things? And is that maybe something they're trying to sprint to get legislation to make all this harder or costs higher? But crazy stuff, Keith.
Totally agreed, man. The next piece that I have here is the Truth API launching. So a couple weeks ago, Truth Media talked about the fact that they were going to allow institutions to get access to their API to get quicker access to tweets as they come out from the largest or more important accounts on the platform. And so this service gives firms faster access to President Trump's market-moving posts. Costs reportedly are up to $100,000 per month for the licensed data feed. And this is targeting high-frequency traders that are seeking speed as an edge on financial markets. So this is making waves throughout the internet, bringing back the conversation of how is this even legal, ethical, and so on.
There's too many things like that to even keep count at this point. But yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Jesse Livermore posted on this, which made me like tweak out. I was like, wait a minute, Jesse Livermore's on Twitter? Jesse Livermore is not alive, but he was an American stock trader, famous story, considered a pioneer of day trading and so on. He's the main character for Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, which is a best-selling book, which I learned was a fictional book. I didn't really realize that. But anyways, I don't even actually know his full story. I'm pretty sure he's the guy who like made a bunch of money, lost a bunch of money, and then like lost himself. He kind of lost. He took himself after all of that. But I could be wrong. Anyways, his Twitter page, someone made a Twitter page for him, even though he died in 1940, and said, "This is hard to even process. A president selling market-moving information to banks and wealthy investors in advance of everyone else, and personally pocketing hundreds of millions of dollars from it. This alone is more worthy of impeachment than 100 Watergate cover-ups." Yeah. Edward Dowd had some statements about this. He said, "When I posted about this, I got pushback from people that said I didn't like capitalism. Apparently, people don't understand that if it wasn't for the seat Trump currently occupies, there would be zero sales. That's just one test. It's a blatant misuse of the office of the president. Others will say he isn't running the company. I don't care because he could pick up the phone and tell them to knock it off." Yeah. Totally. I think he could totally tell them to knock it off, either as the president, as the owner of the company, or as the president of the United States.
No doubt.
So, yeah, just fascinating stuff here. I mean, I'm in Brazil, right? And it's like people have so many words to say about other countries and how messed up they are. And it's like, well, I mean, this is not happening in Brazil. And not just as just as an example in general, and there are plenty of political issues in Brazil and in other countries as well, but it's just like we're at a weird spot where I don't think that there's an obvious distinction between like, oh, this is like super corrupt behavior in the United States, and it looks no different than it would in what people would consider third world or developing countries at this point. Like, there's no justifying it. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. I don't play in the politics. Like I said, I'm not there. Like I purposefully not there. Like, to me, it's a matter of like, this is objectively not really like, and I'm only speaking on this because it's markets. I don't care about the rest of it. This is markets, and it's not fair that that's happening. So that's it.
Yeah, it's almost ironic that people would say you having an issue with this would be meaning that you don't like capitalism. That's like
Super.
that's pretty ironic to say that. But yeah, man, crazy shit. Gives us a lot to talk about.
And it's also just so interesting that that's just such an insult too. You know,
What do you mean?
You don't like capitalism if you don't like this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, when
I
you spend a
definitely
lot
don't
of
like
money,
that form of capitalism.
when you spend a lot of money convincing them of something without really explaining what it is, then you gotta milk that.
Yeah. So, but that just shows like Twitter too, because I'm sure that's where he got all that pushback. It's like that's a big word on Twitter. It's like capitalism, it's pro capitalism, and it's like, but are we talking about the actual concept or not?
The other scary thing with the internet, man, is how we've talked about confirmation bias so many times, but people can endlessly consume things that confirm their existing beliefs, and so they misconstrue that with more learning, right? So it's so funny because there's so many people out there that would consider themselves very well read and well researched, but it's all on like one specific confirming thing, and so it's really hard to have conversations with people because they've seen like unlimited, overwhelming evidence convincing themselves that their opinion is correct, which is like why the whole mantra of our show is stay curious, because if you stay on the internet long enough, you're probably going to get an opinion that is wrong. And so the faster that you change it, the faster that you benefit from it, and the faster that things get less messed up.
Yep.
Because if you'll change your opinion, you're so much harder to control. So much harder.
Very true, man. Spot on. The next story, this is fascinating. New York is suing Calci over gambling. So New York sued Calci, calling it illegal, unlicensed gambling. The case targets Calci's sports events contracts and prediction markets. New York says Calci lacks a state gaming license, and the lawsuit seeks to block operations, customer repayment, and major penalties. A ruling could decide whether states can regulate these prediction markets or not. So I also saw the president, I don't know if you have it in the doc or not. Let me see if I can. Yeah, okay. So the president also made a statement about this, and it was very fascinating. So let me play that real quick.
And on the policy side is, I mean, there's a bit of a question of like, what exactly is the sort of intended outcome? You know, we have over 1 million customers.
You're saying the intended outcome from the state of New York?
The lawsuit. What is, I mean, what is the intended outcome out of this whole thing, right? We have
it looks like they plan to shut you down, is what they.
Well, you're going to have a lot of pissed off New Yorkers if you get shut down in New York, right? And you have 1 million. I mean, here's the question, Becky. How much do you think, if you add up all the profits and losses of New Yorkers so far this year on Calci, what do you think that number is?
Over $1 billion? Over $3 billion?
Well, they made $200 million. Plus $200 million. Right? Obviously, you know, Chris Christie and the gaming guys.
You got something on that?
That's crazy because one billionaire could have made that, and now you're attributing that to all of New Yorkers.
I'm about to rip this dude apart.
Yeah,
give me a second.
Go ahead.
Come in here and like, you know, all these customers are losing on Calci, etc. They have made over $200 million because New Yorkers are smart and they're doing a good job. You know where that's not possible? On the sports books. That is impossible on DraftKings or in a casino. It's impossible in the gambling.
Because you're
meaning that the house always wins.
It is impossible.
The house always
they
wins.
ban the winners. It's impossible for that number to exist. Actually, that number is negative $200 million for the sports books in that same period. So when we talk about customer protection, like what exactly are we
Let me
protecting?
ask you a different.
So I wonder what the next question was. It's a different question then, because you're BSing. So
yeah, maybe it's better than gambling, but like a less lethal dose of poison is still poison.
That's the first comment that I saw from someone else that I thought was beautiful. We're nothing like gambling. But let's compare this to gambling, though. Right? It's better than gambling, but we're nothing like that.
That's a very low bar.
Like, come on, brother. So that's the first piece, obvious piece there. The other piece is this guy's talking about New Yorkers being plus 200 million, because my mind went, wait a minute. These are peer-to-peer markets. So how could there be on a population level plus anything? One guy's loss is another guy's win. So this guy's zooming in on New York in particular, where all of the largest market makers are.
Yeah, the capital of finance.
Like all the people who have all the information and all the money are.
Crazy for him to say New Yorkers are really smart. Which I'm not saying they're not, but he knows what he's doing.
It's just like, brother, you're literally telling me that you're allowing New York to rob the rest of the world on your platform, basically, because of the information asymmetries that they have, because of the infrastructure that they have to do these things. And that's supposed to be a net good for just New York. Like, beep the rest of everybody else. That money's flowing into New York. It's like, that's an interesting stance to take, but he's the CEO and he's got to be creative. And so that's creative, I'll say.
Yeah, especially when you have to galvanize the people, right? So you get them involved with it. You give them a story they can repeat. And it also is really to keep the pressure away from things too. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing.
You guys are funny.
What's up?
Heliophan said, isn't it zero-sum game where they extract value from the whole exchange? If New Yorkers are plus 200 million, isn't someone down 200 million? Exactly. Brand One said, New Jersey's down 200 million.
Some rivalry there.
He said, New Yorkers should be happy to extract that value from New Jersey.
That's awesome.
I thought that was great. But yeah, exactly. And in fact, it's a negative sum game because of the fact that they take fees on all these things. Mm-hmm. So money's coming out of society by going to these things, brothers and sisters. It's not good.
It's a far more of like in not. I'll let you finish your thoughts. Sorry.
No, that's it, bro.
I was just gonna say, and people's argument always goes to, well, everything is like that. It's like, yes, I'm in agreement with you there. Why are we letting more and more efficient means of that to take place? Right? Because like to rig the whole stock market, like, there's a lot of coordination and things that happen there, whereas this is fucking easy.
Totally.
This is super easy.
It's an information game, right? So you're taking the things that are the most unethical about how the stock market works, and you're giving them their own platform to do it there.
And they would say it financially incentivizes like getting to the truth. I would argue it financially incentivizes lying, right? Because you build up the perception that it's going to go away from, or like you create public opinion or popular opinion around the thing that you know is wrong. There's a really strong financial incentive to do that if you can control optics, because then you bet against it.
Totally.
That's why I still think the Clarity Act is going to happen. And I think people are just making a ton of money right now in making that market go the way that it's going. That's my tinfoil hat thing. I still think that's going to happen, but we'll see.
Praveen making some interesting comments here. Who cares about good? Why does this product have to be good? Why is that his responsibility?
Well, how far do you want to take that, right? Because eventually, then nothing is good, right? Like, at what point do people go through history, right? How bad do things have to get for so many people for where nowhere is nice to live? Like that does have to be factored into the equation. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Keith.
Well, yeah, and I do think also to the other thing you were saying, there's arguments against what's actually net productive to society. Like, this game is a money game. And so because of that, it's very directly extracting from society. You could look at an alcohol company and say, oh, these are places where people are coming together, they're making memories, there's other things that come with it, and so on, or whatever. But this is literally taking information itself and using it against people and extracting money from them because they don't have the information. The people who would I think these markets incentivize is creating markets where you know something that you know no one else doesn't know. You know that no one else knows.
Yeah.
So I'm going to create a market where I know I'm the only one that knows this information, and I'm going to go and promote that and go tell people to trade it so that I can make infinite money forever and ever.
Yeah. And Praveen's point here is very good, right? If we all just didn't use it, then it doesn't matter if it's good, which is fair.
Right. So, but that's what it comes down to is at some point, you have laws for society that allow you to have an impact on how people are, in this case, literally destroying themselves. I'll just put it that way, lightly. And you can decide, are you going to allow people to have products that allow them to hurt themselves? And like, that's the only use that it has. It's just for people to hurt themselves for fun. or do you restrict the ways in which, at the very minimum, those things can be promoted? Amsterdam, the Netherlands, drugs are legal, but you're not running after meth.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's
Yes.
also that distinction to make here.
Fantastic point. Also, because look at how many people they've gotten into advertising these things. And we've also talked about how when one person does it that another creator wouldn't have thought that they'd be okay with it, that instantly says, I can be okay with it too. And that's just reached such a critical mass where there's so many people saying this is fine because they're getting at least some bag from it. And I think that's fucking crazy, but it is what it is.
Totally, man. Cause yeah, I did. Oh, you sent me that one video of that girl talking about how she turned down the gambling money.
Turn it down.
And it was interesting to see some of the comments, because in Australia it's really bad, and she was Australian, so people were like, "I'm finna gamble. Like, go get your bag." Is what they were saying to her. She was like explaining why she's not why she's not taking the money from gambling platforms to promote it. And people in the comments saying, "Bro, just take the money. I'm gonna gamble anyways." So yeah, I thought that was interesting too. I'm sure Praveen, that probably goes to some of the way that you would look at it.
Totally.
I would allow, he said, I would allow full drug use. I would not do drugs if they were legal. Right. And once again, in the Netherlands, you can go to places, get your drugs tested, pay for the drugs, and you're good to go. But once again, the bigger issue here is this guy being able to go on CNBC and defend their practices because it's just totally not regulated and whatnot. Like, no, because he needs to be forced to written statements.
Yes.
And get him off the air and make sure that these people are classified for what they're doing as extractive, period.
The friction forces education of what it is that you're doing. Right. Because if it's harder to go through, someone who's going to go through that much work, they're so much more likely to learn about what they're actually doing. Whereas if you're just going through the social proof of, oh, a lot of people are doing this, you'll just do it because you think you're safe to do it because other people aren't dead. That's how our brains work.
Facts. Oh man. And it's one of those things too, where it's such a slow burn where you don't necessarily see the impact that this has on people until either it has become that big of a problem or, you just won't see it. It just will steal from you slowly.
It's getting louder and louder though, the whole gambling thing, and more people will start talking out about it. I do think the pendulum will swing a little bit, and I think that these guys may play a role in that. But we will see.
Yeah. I mean, love him going on TV and saying that. That's crazy. 200 New Yorkers are up 200 mil. Bro, it's a peer-to-peer exchange platform. That's not a good thing. That shows that the New Yorkers are cheating. like you're basically making the point that they're cheating. Why would they be up 200 million? Why would that specific population be up?
Because they're smart.
Oh goodness. All right.
One other thing too is that More Monkey Business says crypto is a drug you just don't realize you're addicted to. And there's so many, like, the counter argument with us talking about crypto a lot. Like, I totally see where people would go there right away, right? But my view of what crypto isn't theirs. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not looking at it the same way, and my behavior in terms of my acquiring of it is nothing like gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I think the distinction really matters. But if someone has their relationship to like, oh, crypto is meme coins, then they think we're shilling meme coins.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? But sorry, proceed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't address it because I know he's on the inside, but to be fair, yeah, it's like it comes down sometimes to how you act around the things, right? Whether or not it's gambling activity or not.
Totally, man. And that's why some people can have a bit of alcohol and not be a problem. Others can't. So, like, there's things like that all over the place. But I'll give you the floor back.
Go to this next piece. LinkedIn is adding a button to flag AI slob.
There's gonna be no more content left, bro. This is the end of LinkedIn.
Yeah. So apparently users can now flag posts that feel generic, fake, or AI written. LinkedIn's classifiers can reduce reach for posts that look low effort.
You and I should start posting on LinkedIn here soon when we have more time, though, because I think that we could dominate over there. But it just, and this is actually more of a reason for me to want to go there now too, because those people who are doing that shit just bullied their way into success through like volume of content and then like engagement groups and things of that nature, to where it became the industry standard because people would do social listening to see what is working, and the best performing content would be ass. Right? So monkey see, monkey do, especially if you're getting rewarded for it.
Hondo pay. Yes, sir. It's time for some reactions and some memes and stuff.
Hit me with memes. Oh, it's looping.
No.
Oh, that'll go Sipa.
So apparently, Joe Rogan turned on CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla is a YouTube investigator known for exposing online scams, while Joe Rogan hosts the Joe Rogan Experience, a massive podcaster, or according to Ben's sister, motivational speaker.
That's a great reference.
So let's see exactly what's going on here. What's the beef?
This was some good tea, man.
Thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, Joe.
I appreciate your show. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. And I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Epstein Experience featuring J.D. Vance. The vice president has gone on the world's largest podcast to slip us some propaganda they're hoping you won't notice. Got to be careful of the podcast these days. The times have changed. It's no longer bros talking. All these powerful people who used to go try to spin stuff on cable TV have now realized this is the new place to sell your propaganda. It's not on cable TV. Nobody's there. It's on the Joe Rogan Experience. You got to be skeptical of all these guys who go on the show. I mean, except that guy, obviously. Wait, click off that.
All right, so it's been over 3 years since CoffeeZilla went on the Joe Rogan Experience, and at the time, Joe was a big fan of his and appreciated what he was doing and seemed to be in total agreement with him about how predatory crypto schemes are. And Joe thought meme coin pump and dumps should be illegal. But then Trump started his own coin, and of course, Joe had to try to defend it and downplay it, which CoffeeZilla has to be really disappointed about because, Rogan was telling him he's doing great work, and it sounded like he agreed with everything. So Trump decided to get involved by starting Trump Coin and Melania Coin. After that, CoffeeZilla seemed to almost lose hope. He couldn't believe it. I mean, he spends all this time trying to expose how nefarious meme coins are and deter people from taking advantage of their followers by starting one. Then the president of the United States launches one and just cashes in. He made $635 million from his coin, and it's down almost 99% from its peak. So he looted these people. And if the president is doing this shit, what kind of precedent does that set? It's just a free-for-all out there. And I think this is when CoffeeZilla started using the phrase crime is legal.
I spent years of my life trying to tell people to do the right thing. Don't take advantage of your followers. Don't scam people. Don't grift. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You're not going to get to the highest office of the land. That's crazy. And if you do it too much, law enforcement might come after you. Now, the guy doing it appoints the law enforcement. So I don't even know what am I doing here. I don't have a good answer for that.
So, of course, they got Rogan in line, and he started defending Trump's coin. It's wild seeing him go from being a big CoffeeZilla fan and having him on the podcast to then pretending like he doesn't see anything wrong with the president starting a meme coin. And he seriously started acting like he doesn't understand how Trump's taking advantage of people with it. And he even said he supports it. So CoffeeZilla must have been dying inside watching Rogan just play dumb like this. It's also insane because Rogan's always talking about insider trading and how it should be illegal. He calls it stealing. Like, how many times has he ranted about Nancy Pelosi? As he should. People should speak out about that. But if you're talking about insider trading, Trump blows her out of the water. He made 2.
Yeah, I think the important distinction there, Keith, is like it should be on everything. That you shouldn't be able to pull that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's exclusive to any one thing. I think it's the power that they have to move those things that is the problem.
Right. So not just stocks, but also crypto, also
yeah,
commodities, whatever it would be that they could have an impact on in that way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And actually A16Z Crypto's channel did like a panel discussion on the Clarity Act the other day. And that was one of the dude's main primary point of like, people are getting mad at this for like the Clarity Act because they're so worried about ethics. It's like, yeah, we want that in there, but we also think everything should have some sort of thing there as well in terms of you can't do this. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I just want to also give a huge shout out to Praveen for the super chat. Thank you
What
for
up,
that, man.
Praveen? Appreciate you, brother.
Really, yeah, we always appreciate you and your takes, and thank you for that.
Always great, yeah, contributions. We appreciate having you in the community for sure.
Last
Hanging
year
out with us.
from basically insider trading crypto and stocks. But when Trump does this stuff, Rogan ignores it, or he just plays dumb and acts like he doesn't really understand what's going on, even though we know he understands how these crypto scams work.
I support it. Why not?
Yeah.
If you could do that, look, if you can go fucking play cards, if you could figure out a way to 3-card money people on the streets of New York,
But he also
right.
he
But the argument
promos
is that
gambling
Trump
companies a lot too. That's one thing that I always found crazy is that he promotes these gambling companies when
Who does?
Joe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that was kind of shocking to me because if I recall correctly, I've heard on his episode him saying how destructive gambling addiction is.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and yeah, super interesting. I'll let you proceed.
Let's do it.
is ripping off his fans with this Trump coin. But my question is, like, how is he ripping off his fans? It's basically like DraftKings. like what are you doing?
So for Rogan to still defend Trump and ignore his corruption is really hypocritical. Just like him doing gambling ads constantly. CoffeeZilla called Joe out on that because he was making a video about people promoting gambling to their audience and noticed Rogan started doing a bunch of gambling ads during his podcast, which CoffeeZilla pointed out was really hypocritical for him considering how much he criticizes pharmaceutical ads. So I wonder if Rogan is still a fan of his, or does he think CoffeeZilla is just a mentally ill, jealous hater now? CoffeeZilla also recently referred to Joe's podcast as the Jeffrey Epstein experience, after Joe had on JD Vance and let him try to do PR for how they mishandled the Epstein files. That's how JD described it. And you could trust him because he claims he's gone down every rabbit hole. He was trying to convince people he's an expert on Epstein conspiracy theories. So CoffeeZilla talked about how JD's trying to prove you can trust him by acting like he's just an unbiased guy on a podcast, giving his honest take on the Epstein files, like Rogan's podcast used to be. But now Joe would never let somebody actually go into detail about Trump, Elon Musk, or Peter Thiel's connections to Epstein. So I don't think he'd ever have on someone who has actually done a lot of research on them and doesn't have a narrative to push, like CoffeeZilla. We'll probably never see CoffeeZilla on the show again. It's too risky. He could upset Elon or Trump because, CoffeeZilla is actually honest about the Epstein files, crypto scams, and insider trading, which Joe knows. I mean, he was a fan and thought CoffeeZilla was an honest guy and really appreciated the work he was doing. But now Rogan supports Trump's coin. He acts like he doesn't understand how Trump's taking advantage of people with it. And he lets people use his podcast to try to downplay the Epstein files and the cover up, which is everything CoffeeZilla speaks out about. So based on the direction things are headed, it seems like he'll probably start calling Rogan out more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That YouTube creator is pretty good too. So we'll link the full video if interested down in the description box down below. But Keith, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's done it well. I didn't know that Joe Rogan was ever downplaying these things at all. It's definitely not a good look for him. Yeah, that sucks, dude. I would just hate to be in that position, to be honest, like Joe Rogan's position of, I guess, crossing that chasm of going into the political realm, because now you literally can't do anything, or you're compromised at that point, basically. Like you're just screwed.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that's even what a large majority of his audience feels like as well, which makes sense. It's tougher and tougher to argue with every passing guest. But
I hear it. And it wouldn't have to be like that if it wasn't how things were going right now, honestly. Like, I just feel like there's no opposing the current administration, like, if you're at that level.
You saying that they penalize you basically if you don't do it?
I guess so. Like, I mean, even with Jimmy Kimmel, like, he made a joke and that turned into an issue, right? And it was like, dang, is that where we're actually at? Like, we actually at that level of what's going on right now? Like, that's kind of crazy. But so I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Super, super interesting. Next piece, Google Earth has become a deep fake machine. So Mutahar Anas is a technology and gaming commentator known online as Some Ordinary Gamers. He says Google's nano banana feature let anyone fabricate disasters and attacks over trusted Google Earth imagery, making
It's crazy.
misinformation easier
So
to
it's
spread.
wild. His thumbnail that he had for it was crazy. I thought like the top comment was, "This is an unskippable thumbnail," and you'll see why.
Okay. Wait, should I look for the thumbnail though?
Sure, you can if you want.
Okay, let me try to.
It's like the Ordinary Gamer or Ordinary Gamers is his handle.
Okay, right
He
here.
posts a lot. Yeah, right there, right there.
Let's see what's going on here.
How can Google, a company that is investing millions, billions of dollars into AI slop, going to make it worse? Well, I'm going to let you, the audience, kind of figure it out. Okay, so this is from Google's new page. July 30th. Okay, July 30th. Transform any place with Neno Banana, which is their, I guess, like image generation like model. So just think for a second. Satellite images, image generation. Surely nothing may go wrong here, right? So immediately in my mind, I was like, oh man, what if somebody generated like 9/11 on that? Immediately that's where my mind went to. And you know, society does not let me down, ladies and gentlemen. They in fact did show me what happens when you ask Gemini, hey, show me a plane flying into a skyscraper in Manhattan. Now, I don't know if that was the exact prompt, but it sure as fuck gave a pretty spooky looking image. The only way the story could somehow be like blown me away even harder is this all happened on the 11th of September, okay? Now, the reality is, look, again, obviously that looked pretty fake to me, but what if it didn't look fake to like some poor old lady who was looking at it and thinking, oh no, the Muslims, Steve, the Muslims are at it again. Like, could you imagine some poor old lady just flipping through her Facebook feed, seeing that shit and going, they did it again, Steve. And again, it's crazy, right? Like back in the day, you would need like some pretty decent Photoshop skills to kind of like make fakes. You know, back in the day, listen, back in the day, when somebody posted fake shit to like 4chan or like Reddit, people would debate, argue. You would have like people blown in. The amount that people could do this kind of stuff, the amount of people that were able to do this weren't that many. Now, anybody with like, a fucking web browser and access to Google Earth for a day.
Can you pause it for a second? That is crazy to think about. And I've even seen it in my own life. Is that I used to be someone who had like loose understanding of Photoshop and video editing or photo editing skills, so I could make memes and stuff, right? And then all my friends were always blown away by like, I can't believe you make this. And I'm like, yeah. And imagine there's people who are like 100 times better than me. Now everyone can do it with AI. That's crazy. Like, of course, there's a lot of humor and there's some funny stuff that gets created from it, but it's also a lot of scary shit.
Totally.
You can call it there if you want.
Went on.
Word, because well, I feel like there's more to what happened, right? Because this ended up getting up on like Google Earth. So let me see.
Prompted Gemini to do whatever. Gemini makes the ability to generate the most insane level of things really easily. And that's one of the things that obviously comes around. I didn't see people generating a whole lot of useful things. All I saw was a vast amount of misinformation sort of float out through this. But anyways, one more thing that he showed was show traffic accident. Now, I would think this would trip a guardrail up, but according to, again, Hank right over here, you can see that it literally will actually just generate this image. All right, so he's going to hit the old enter over there, and it generates that shit, and bam, right over there, you can see that an actual accident has been generated. And you can just share that on the internet and be like, look at that crazy refugee driver going into a bar. Now, you might be sitting over there wondering, well, hold on, Mudo. What was Google's response to this? Well, to give you an idea over here, ladies and gentlemen, Google's response was about as you can expect. We take misinformation seriously. Every image created with Nano Banana includes Sint ID. If you're unsure, you can ask the Gemini app. Really, is that true? Because we just saw case examples where it didn't actually do that. In fact, going back to Hank, he has a whole different piece where he looks at how deep this actually goes. And sometimes it's not even accurate whatsoever. So now they're just like, we know that people uniquely trust Google Earth. Literally a fucking day later, by the way. We've seen geospatial professionals using this for a range of useful purposes. I'm sure you have. However, we've also seen people sharing screenshots that violate our policies. So we're rolling back this feature in Google Earth to implement stronger guardrails. You know, it's funny, again, I haven't seen anybody use this for anything worthwhile. I've literally just been seeing people use this to generate 9/11 and like bomb craters and accidents and like literal misinformation signals that they can just send on to other media sites out.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the attention economy, that stuff's going to get crazy real fast. Like, they got to be thinking through all these things.
That's freaking wild. These dudes, one day later. Oh, God. That's great. Yeah, so I guess it wasn't that it ended up on Google Earth. It was just using Google Earth images. I see now.
Yeah,
But,
and because Google Earth is pretty notorious with seeming like real, right? So when you make it that easy to create these things that seem super legit, the content's going to go crazy off of that. You know what I mean?
Right. Let me see real quick what I can do about the current situation. So this next piece is that AI companies are the real threat. So Ed Zitron, once again, technology critic, writer, and host of the Better Offline podcast, says executives, hyperscalers, and bankers massively overstate AI's capabilities while circular financing keeps the industry's growth story alive. So I need to get the link to this one here. So give me just a second.
You're good. Take your time.
Yeah, we've had Ed Zitron in the roto quite a bit.
He's so relevant right now, which we knew he would become, and he's really loved too.
Regular people can see that AI does not deliver what people promise. They can see the opulence of the people at the top of the AI industry. And they can also see that they're being lied to and being deliberately scared on top of all of this egregious circular financing.
So you think people are actually lying? Or do you think people
specifically?
I don't know. Like, is it the companies at the hyperscalers, the CEOs, the bankers? Like, do you think, and to be fair, we really should reach out to everybody. But I mean, is that what you're saying? That
I believe,
or do they not really know?
I think they're overstating things.
Okay.
I think lying would suggest a certain malice, what have you,
Yeah.
that I don't want to accuse anyone of. But I believe that they are massively overstating what AI will do.
Where, in your view, does Elon Musk and SpaceX fit into this conversation? I bring it up because we learned this afternoon that Elon Musk's net worth has fallen to $684 billion, which, yes, is a lot of money. It has erased, though, the IPO gains from SpaceX. And we haven't been with you. You
Still
haven't been
the
on with
world's
us.
richest.
Still
If
the
you
world's
go to
richest.
Rich, go on the Bluebird.
Okay. You haven't joined us since SpaceX IPO'd. But there's a data point there for, at least in the short term, reception to a public company that has pretty significant exposure with AI.
Well, I think SpaceX is kind of the proof point you need. We have someone who can sink unlimited capital into this, who can hire anyone, who can theoretically stand up as much capacity as possible, breaking multiple laws at the same time, not getting the permits. And what did we get for it? We got Grok. And what is Grok? Well, it's a third, fourth, fifth tier LLM that really only some people use by accident when they turn on Twitter.
What about the security risks that these LLMs or some of these agents are exposing, those from OpenAI and those from Anthropic?
Well, I think the biggest risk with OpenAI and Anthropic's agents is they don't appear to do basic security practices. They don't appear to take care of how they're using their systems. OpenAI say, I actually question this entire story, that their agent ran autonomously for multiple days, burning what sounds like unlimited compute. Either this company is run so terribly that they were running up millions of dollars of bills to randomly do stuff, and also they don't watch what it's doing. Software does what it's told to do. We don't know the prompt, we don't know the training, and they're not releasing the model.
But it doesn't change the fact that these agents reportedly found weaknesses in code that, if not exposed, or that could be vulnerable. Like, what I'm saying is, if there's an idea that if this gets into the wrong hands, then systems could break down? Just very briefly.
One thing, it's already in the wrong hands, OpenAI and Anthropic. They've shown they do not have the responsibility to make security tools. They should not be making them. They don't know what they're doing. It's blatantly obvious. And on top of it, they brute forced a hacking agent. They shoved as much compute power into it as possible. You can also pay hackers to do that. It's illegal. Also, this all sounds illegal. I'm no lawyer. I'm no judge, but I don't know why they're allowed to do this. Yeah, these things are dangerous if they're allowed to be trained on cybersecurity measures and execute against them. I find the whole thing repugnant because everyone is saying, "Oh, look at the scary LLM," versus looking at the companies that run it.
We got to run 20 seconds. Anything that would change your mind and make you say this is real quickly.
Not really.
No. Okay.
Fascinating.
That's super interesting. But at the point at the end where nothing would change his mind, that's fascinating as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot of that, right? And that's also on the channel, the Internet of Bugs, who is
Casey's
co-host, and he talks a lot about this stuff from a actual software engineer's perspective. That's another big issue here, is that most of the discussions are done by people who don't really know what they're talking about, and like we're not immune to that either, right? We only know our perspective from what we know, like my very limited coding experience, and so. Someone like him is a lot more of an authority figure to listen to. So I definitely recommend going over to that channel and listening to their pod too. But anything else that you had on that?
Totally. No, I think it's a really interesting point though that Ed is making of like, what about the companies? What about the people? Like these are the things to look at and the things that are also within sort of, society that we can touch. But yeah, other than that, next piece. Scientists, apparently somewhere in the world, have proposed cutting the global population down to 4 billion.
That's crazy.
This would ease pressure on natural resources and improve quality of life. The idea draws intense interest over resource scarcity and future living standards.
Is that what they're already doing right now?
I would argue that absolutely. This comes back to the Malthusianism concept that we've talked about a few times on the show. It's an economic and demographic theory stating that unchecked population growth grows exponentially, and while food supply and resources grow linearly. So this imbalance eventually leads to a Malthusian catastrophe, such as famine, war, or disease, that then cuts population size back to sustainable levels. So basically, if you think about like a controlled forest fire, that's probably what the scientists are talking about, is trying to control the human population to prevent there from being a much larger catastrophe at a later date. What do you think of that?
Yeah, there's so many theories that have gone around, many of which have been deemed conspiracy theories about this whole thing. So I don't know, it's just kind of hard to, maybe it's a correlation versus causation problem here. That would be the argument against that. But yeah, there's a lot of, in terms of like things that are happening. Is that because they're trying to diminish the population, or is that because the end of a cycle, systems are breaking, right? Like how much of this is calculated versus things breaking?
Gotcha. Yeah. There's so many different instances of things in the United States, at the very least, that point to just like, why would you allow this? Like, why would we do it this way? And if it weren't for like trying to diminish populations, certain things with food, water, it's like these things aren't legal in other places. Why is it legal in the United States? Why would you basically purposefully make your society less safe in certain ways? And I also saw some like announcements of certain laws being changed in the United States, like deregulating certain industries. We've seen that throughout all of the current presidents sees both of them, a lot of deregulation of industries. And there's certain things that I can understand why that might happen, but some things that I don't, like for instance, food and water. It's like, well, I think you don't need to deregulate that. Like that's not holding anyone back, But anyways, so yeah. And when you study the history of the United States across certain populations as well, you will see very active practices of people trying to exterminate people. And you can see that across several societies. And so there are practices, there are philosophies around that in general. And so when you think about that, it's not crazy to think that at a global level, things like that could also be happening. But speaking of some of the agencies that are responsible for some of that type of stuff, the FBI has an agent that got charged with $1 million in crypto theft. Apparently, an FBI supervisory agent, Patrick Yarok, was arrested for stealing about $1 million in crypto from a suspect's accounts. He confessed after guilt, having used FBI access passphrases on an overseas adversarial nation's wallets. Agent recovered most funds. The case highlights insider risks with seized digital assets. Interesting. Anything on that?
No, sir.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, you got people that are in these organizations, and not a great thing. Let me see. Next piece, Saylor defends his never sell stance. We talked about it a little bit earlier, so let's hear what he had to say on the stage about it all.
Well, the point is, by the way, I said to you, never sell your Bitcoin. I never said that the company wouldn't sell his Bitcoin. And anybody that's been listening to our earnings calls or reading our disclosures or has half a brain knows for the last 5 years, we've been very clear that, of course, we sell the Bitcoin if we have to.
Keith?
Yeah, well, hey, you do not sell your Bitcoin, folks.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, right? It's a great mantra to repeat.
Exactly.
But it's also incredibly void of nuance. And so if you're going to make that mechanism be what is spread, you've got to understand the ignorance that's associated with it or downstream of it, right? So, like, I get what he's saying, but I also totally understand everyone giving him shit.
100%. And then on the FBI story, Robbie J said, what was he thinking? $1 million is not even that much money. So
today's day and age, you're not even getting a house here in Canada, man.
You're not getting nothing with that, bro. You get a jail sentence and losing your job. Dang, bro. You tripping. Yeah, no, not worth it at all. But I don't know why anyone in that position would do anything like that. Like, you're on the inside of the feds. Like, you don't think somebody's going to catch you doing something? I mean, but then again, they probably get away with stuff all the time.
No doubt. Without a doubt. And then also with a lot of this gambling stuff too, because people would always say, like, why would the athletes rig the game or whatever, or rig a stat? It's usually because they got involved with some bad people or bad things themselves, and it's paying a debt of some sort. Sometimes it's not even necessarily about the money. It might be about something socially, or, you know what I'm saying? Like some other motive behind it too. So the dollar figure may even mean like more about other things that we're not privy to.
Very true. Very true. Let's see here. The next piece I have is Anthropic CEO pay concern. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei worries that new hires join mainly for high pay and not the AI safety mission.
No way. There's no way, Keith.
Talent wars and AI drive massive compensation packages from rivals like Meta. Viewers care as it shows pressure on mission-focused labs amid soaring researcher salaries. Okay. So, yeah, I guess not too surprising to think about.
Absolutely not.
Pay someone enough, they will care.
Absolutely.
But let me see. Next piece. Ben Affleck makes some statements about addiction. He discusses beating his alcohol addiction in a recent interview. He says the real cure is enough personal suffering, not overpriced rehabs. Let's see what he has.
And I hate to say it, but the cure for addiction, the only cure I've seen, and not like these fucking overpriced rehabs or a lot of these fraudulent fixes that are sold to people. They're good people who will support you. Alcoholics Anonymous, I think by and large, is a good organization. It's not the only one. The cure for addiction is suffering. You suffer enough that something inside you goes, I'm done. And I'm like lucky because I hit that point before I lost really the things that were the most important, which were not my career or money, it was my relationship with my kids. And when I felt as if it impacted them, I recognized it. It was the worst day of my life. I made amends. And for a while, I thought maybe this is temporary. This feeling is going to go away. But since that day, I swear to Christ, I have not ever wanted to drink once. And I hate to say it, but the cure.
Lupin. What are your thoughts on that, Keith?
I mean, it's an interesting take. I guess that's definitely how things worked out for me. It's just pain. I was like, oof.
Yeah. But the scarier thing with like why we built No Dice was because I don't really think that people are realizing how a social media addiction or how a gambling addiction is altering their state because it's just constant. Right? We talk about this so often where like there's a radical difference in his normal state versus when he's drunk. But when your normal state becomes this, you don't even realize that it's impacting your family.
That's so true, man.
Because even my one buddy who like really was the primary reason for why I was so passionate about building this is that like he's just been so constantly addicted to these things. He just thinks it's him. Right? Because I saw him this weekend, so I was trying to explain. I'm like, okay, but look what happened after, right? Like you did this, you did this, you did this. Do you think you do that if you didn't do this? Probably not. And for him in particular, it's like he's worked a lot, but he's not financially well off because he's gambled all of his money away. And then it's like, and then he also gets mad about the dating thing there too, right? There's so many things that are connected to this. Like there's a lot of guys out there who like see themselves as losers because they don't have a lot of money, but their jobs were actually pretty good all along. But because they were chasing something so much bigger because social media told them to, they gambled away all their money. And then that's why they don't have the dating prospects that they think they should. Right? Because like he'll be like, oh, I need a better job and stuff. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to stop gambling away your money every week. You could have had a shitload of money. You could have way more money than me right now. You started working at 18.
Right.
So like all these things are connected to it. But the scary part about the phone stuff is that if it just becomes your waking state, then how is it impacting a lot of problems? You're not connecting it to it.
Wow. Yeah, dude, that's actually super powerful to think about. Like when you drink, you're completely changing your state.
Yes.
You're drunk.
Totally. And as I was listening to your podcast, when the Log Out podcast, I was thinking about like what I would say while I was on there in terms of like if I would ever go. And it was this. It was we've been drunk as a society for like 14 years and not realized it. Right? We've been walking around wasted, wondering why everything's fucked. Do you know what I'm saying? And because of my job, I just got to see that. So like I would have fallen into it 110% if I had had any other job on the planet. I'm not saying I'm special. My job was just to see how it's impacting you.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying? So like that was the issue. Whenever I would try to voice people, the echo chamber that they're in and how they're being impacted, they would take it as an attack every single time. Every single time. And it's like, no, I don't think I'm better than you because I see this. I just see this. And so I think that's a conversation we got to have a lot more loudly. And I'm sure she'll play a big role in that.
Super, super well put, man. Yeah. Super, super fascinating. It requires you to take that logical chain approach that it sounds like you try to take in order for someone to be able to snap out of it in any way.
Because it usually takes a bunch of times because the first like 5 or 10 conversations, they're not listening to a word I'm saying. They're nodding their head along, but it's their ego fighting me the entire time. And so eventually that's also why like I sometimes try to go drink a few drinks with these people so that they'll actually listen to what I'm saying. Because their inhibitions are a little bit lower and then I can actually have a conversation. And I've had some success with that because their ego doesn't come up as fast. They're a little bit more receptive to it. I'm not advocating drinking whatsoever. I'm just saying it was something that I had tried with certain people a bunch of times. And I was like, let's try this. And it did seem to have a little bit more impact. And also because it's so much harder to see the connections in your own life. Do you know what I mean? Because you're so in it. You're too close. It's like the forest from the trees situation. So yeah, that's it.
Very well said, man. So yeah, it sucks to think that it might take immense levels of pain, but then it's also Like, but then it's what you're saying. It's what are you ascribing that to? What was the cause of the pain? Because otherwise, you will just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, or revert to a different one.
Right.
Because that's like one thing I've also said to a lot of people is that I don't think there's that much of a difference to any kind of addiction. I just think your natural temperament and experiences make you more prone or less prone to certain things. And I think the proximity and ease of access to the gambling thing has just made so many people that were susceptible to any kind of addiction fall into this one because it's just so unbelievably supported and accessible.
Super fair.
So
dang, that's crazy, man. All the kids they're not drinking and smoking, but they're gambling and stuff.
Same thing, right? And a lot of them will point at the people who have a problem with that and say, "Oh, it's like okay, we could never do that." It's like, it's like, yeah, you couldn't, given your experiences, you couldn't, right? But like, we're all the same, right? If you had gone through what they had gone through, you would have been more susceptible to the gambling thing. That's why there's got to be way more empathy across the board. Like, there's so many of these fucking guys that make me so angry, where they're like, you just don't know how to play, or it's like, why is it only the losers of the gambling that call themselves addicts? It's like, have a stroke of empathy, brother. Try it.
Totally.
But whatever. Rant over.
The only other piece I think for today's show is going to be talking about some community.
Let's do it. The community. Pure memes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
you're
right.
That on a SIPA. So we got some pure memes, some joke stuff for you guys to lighten the mood a bit.
Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, so Jonah Hill was on stage, and this guy, Filthy Tom Lawler, said, "This is the effing fat guy from Superbad." Let's hear what he had to say.
Except my body is. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love. Except my body is begging me to not love it. 42 isn't. My wife is often like, "You're not going to become like a professional fighter. You know that, right? Like you're a comedian. Like."
But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If we got into it,
I would fuck you up.
You'd fuck me up, right?
I would fuck all
But
three
truly,
of you up. Yeah.
right?
And that's the best part. My favorite thing is people are like, "Oh, Jonah Hill, fucking fat guy from Superbad." And I'm like, I would fucking annihilate you, dude. I'm
Because
not kidding.
every
dude.
fight
Try it. If you see me, try it, dude.
Every fight ends up on the ground. Very quickly.
it. Who's got it?
I will, unless you are way bigger than me.
I have like a
fucking fuck around and find out.
Man, super basic answer, but Superbad's one of my favorite movies of all time, man.
Word.
I love that movie so much. And yet he was typecasted as the fat, funny guy, and that's something that has been a big soft spot for him. Like, there's a lot of clips of him getting like mad about discussions like that from people interviewing him. So it's very much a touchy subject for him, because he has changed his body so dramatically, right? So he's not the fat guy, but yet people still want to put him in there because it's also like humans, right? The most times he's been seen, he was, right? So it's not about it's about what the character means to the person in their life, which is why they bring them back there. It's kind of like the whole Charles thing, Charles Hoskinson, where he gets so mad if you bring up ETH. It's very, very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Let me.
Have you been doing any martial arts there in Brazil?
No, man, I haven't. I haven't.
So he can still kick your ass.
He could absolutely whip me. The next piece, Adam saw the B-52s. Yay, said, "I was not talking to you." He goes, "Hi, I was just born," into the Google search bar, and he gets an AI overview.
That's awesome.
Goes,
Yeah, that's actually pretty dystopian, bro.
That's where we're at, man. Welcome to Earth. It's loud and bright here. Loud and bright here. You need a lot of sleep and milk. People will make funny faces at you. That's what Google had to say. I definitely run into that issue quite a bit. It's pretty annoying when I'm typing stuff into Google and it gives me an AI response. I'm like, bro, I'm asking for the thing that I'm typing, not for you to respond.
But I will say, though, from a marketing perspective, I always try to throw these little things in there as treats for y'all. If you watch all the way through and you market anything, is prioritize YouTube content even more, because you can get featured in those pretty easily via shorts and YouTube content. Like for one of my software products, most of our sales are now coming through that thing. And they're not really like watching my full video anymore, but they're getting the context in seconds and coming through and trying. So
totally love it, dude.
Make more YouTube content.
Yes, sir. This next piece, common meme of I will help poor people when I grow up. And this is me after growing up, pouring the water into the shampoo.
Yeah, I feel it.
Totally. And then this one is pretty good here. You know, Trump just launched the Truth Social API, so you can pay $100,000 a month to get access to his tweets early. And this guy's complaining because he said, I just paid $100K to get early access to this.
What a steal. That's crazy.
It's kind of funny because it's actually like that is what people will actually be paying $100K for. Sometimes that's what it will be.
Have they said it publicly? And if you said this already, I apologize for missing it. But how early are you when you buy this?
It's milliseconds.
Seriously.
And I think they're tiering it to where the faster you want it, the more you pay.
That's crazy.
I know. That's actually the craziest part of it, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think people are understanding that part. Like, that's crazy. You're basically saying the richer you are, the faster you're going to get this info and the more of an advantage you're going to have.
Yeah, it's getting like so like even more obvious by the day that all of these problems that we've told have been other reasons for division. Like, it's a class thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's so crazy. And yet some people still try to fight and act like they're like them. You know what I mean? I found that fascinating how like a poor struggling person will still like defend a lot of these people. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It's fascinating how effective the propaganda has been, where you'll tear down your neighbor with a very similar experience because their skin's a different color, and you'll idolize the guy who's causing it. It's crazy, dude.
I know, P. This next piece I've got here, apparently, Tinder created a garbage truck to help people throw away memories of their exes. So that's
actually pretty smart. And all the dating apps, they're going to have to rush to get better really fast and very creative, because the only moat that they have over someone else starting a new one is the network effect and the money, right? They can do shit. But to build a Tinder right now, you could build a Tinder in a week, man.
I can see it. I can see it, man.
We still want to build our dating app eventually.
Yep. That's all I've got for the memes for the day. So let's talk about some community.
Let's go into the community. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Last week, we had the Cliff Roach on to talk about the dating game in modern society. And I thought this was a really good episode. Let's see what some of the comments were. SPB rather said, this deserves more views, LOL. I really like hearing successful, intelligent Black men talk about life. This guy did a mic drop. Thanks, Keith and Ben. Thank you. And I agree with that first part as well. Totally deserves more views. Self-Reliance OS said, oh, replays are great, but being here in person is so much better. Finally started working on building a men's group here in my small town community. Missed the stream for the first meetup of some of the guys interested. Thanks for the great discussion. As always, y'all. Appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you, and congratulations on starting that. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's super sick. How are you now? Said, awesome that you've taken the initiative to put together a men's group. I hope the first meetup went well, and I wish you success. Yeah, that's super cool. 8 or 9 solid guys interested in it. Awesome. Phosphit said, another guest idea, healthy gamer. Absolutely. Just us, K1. I really want you to have XRP Mickle on. Fair enough. I think we got that in the works. Trick or Tray. Question, do y'all have any thoughts on Nolan Wells' case or anything surrounding the Black community being attacked? I personally have not done the investigation.
I know nothing about that.
And then Emotion Free Apparel said it's a new KS. I'm not sure what that refers to. Surprised there wasn't some more controversy on that one, but maybe
It's early.
Yeah.
It'll come with time, my friend.
Yeah, if we clip it up too, use some clips out, I'm sure that'll get some traction.
We're working on repurposing the content, and the guys are getting better every day at that. So yeah, the community will grow here pretty soon. So yeah, we definitely appreciate all of you guys being early OGs, and we appreciate you tremendously for leaving the comments and everything. And yeah, I'll give some love to everyone in the chat here. We got Praveen, BAPN, RD as always. Thanks for holding it down. Mary, Noxo. Appreciate all y'all being here all the way to the end. Maria. Yeah, thank y'all for hanging out with us. What a sale, of course. Esco, what am I saying? Hello, hello. And Lucas. And Brian, I forgot him last time apparently, so make sure he's not here. I'll give him some love. Brand one. Appreciate y'all. And then to double tap on what we said earlier in terms of joining the community, that month that price will be for the first month. And then also, did we figure out giving them that extra like classification thingy?
No.
Okay. Cool. We're gonna try to figure out some sort of way to visually show that you were an early supporter as well. I don't know how Discord works, so I'm trying to ask people how we do these things. But we've got a funny idea. We want to. I feel like we got to be able to make that happen. There's no way we can't.
For sure.
Cool.
So yeah, guys, join the Discord. You can find the link in the description down below. We're happy to get that going, have a space for us to all properly come together. You can find the link under the section where it says join the Memes in Markets private community. That's where you can find the access to that. As soon as you join there, you'll have automatic access to the Discord. You'll be redirected. And so super excited to have y'all there with us on that.
Yeah, man. You can lock in your founding member rate to hang out in there, and we will see y'all in there for discussion. You'll help shape the content, help contribute to things we discuss, and then also, like Keith said, the additional value that we're gonna throw in there is the things that we're watching, so that you can get some solid info there, and then we're gonna figure out more ways over time to get more connected with y'all and give you more value, hopefully. So that's everything for me. Anything from you, Keith?
No, that's about it for me. I'm on No Dice 45. I guess last time I told you guys that I failed, y'all. So I'm back on road. I'm on day 6, which feels so like I'm already almost a week back in again. It's kind of crazy.
It's light work.
Just getting through it, bro.
So if you are looking to build a better relationship with your phone, you can join us in No Dice 45, whether your vice is gambling or social media / screen time. You can set up a challenge for each and participate in some healthy behavior swaps that will allow you to have more perspective in terms of what your actual relationship is with your phone, and then also with yourself too. And I think that gap, that buffer, can allow people to have that discovery phase that most people just simply don't anymore. So today I got to do meditation. I got to watch a 30-minute educational YouTube video. That'll be easy for me. And then I got to say hi to 5 strangers, get a workout in, and stick to my app blocking. What do you have?
Fire. I've got 5 compliments, which is my 3rd day in a row with 5 compliments.
That's tough bounce, dude.
It's tough, bro. Like, forces me to basically be extra on the block. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to be on the block, bro, to get my 5 compliments in.
No doubt.
I will be outside a little bit today on a Tuesday, and I got a journal and then exercise and 30 minutes of learning as well.
Love it, man. Love it. We'd love to see you guys join us in No Dice 45 for No Dice 45, and then use the app blocking tools within No Dice to set up your phone however you want to make your life better. We're continuing to work on that every single day to make that the best product possible to really solve the underlying problems that we're trying to solve, which is the removal of things, but also the inclusion of good things. And so we're trying to give you both of those things to create the life and community that you want. So can't wait to see y'all in there. Don't forget that Keith D's free courses are in there on both the gambling practices that people are prey to, and then also Personal Finance 101 exclusive courses found only within No Dice that you can access completely for free.
That's right. So at the very minimum, we're on both the App Store and the Google Play Store. Check out those courses. It's totally free. Download the app, check out the courses. And then if you're enjoying that stuff, leave us a review, because that also helps a ton.
Helps so much, because there's not that many indicators of interest for an app. So the ratings have a disproportionate over-indexed impact on discovery, which is really shitty, because a lot of people buy fake reviews to get higher up. So that's a game that we're fighting as well, but it's not worth it. If you get caught, you can get screwed. So that's why we will not do that. But a lot of people unfortunately do. So any rating that you feel you want to provide, we appreciate.
Totally.
Cool.
That's it for me, Ben.
Cool. Well, thank you once again. Big shout out to producer Sharp in the background. This was an amazing show that you ran today. And so everyone here, I know, is grateful for your contributions, because without you, a lot of this wouldn't have happened. So thank y'all. Thank you. And then thanks everyone for hanging out with us. It was a blast as always. And we will be back here again in less than 2 days, guys. So that's pretty exciting. Keith, anything else from you?
That's it, folks. Make today the best day of your life.
That's it. Be the light that y'all want to see. And we will see all of you on Thursday. Peace.